You can't tell the backside of one horse from another unless you're an absolute expert. So, no, seriously.
Oh, dear.
If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now. It's just the two Mikes flicking through tomorrow's papers.
What are you doing in my shrubbery, you dirty little...
Nocturnal stirrings from the night garden of sporting news with Mike Ninky Nonk Graham and Mike Pinky Ponk Parry on Talk Sport. If you're up with a baby, you'll get it.
Look at the light!
Walk into the light, phone home. Jesus had to give up quite a lot. When you get nailed to the cross, you haven't got much option. Sorry, what's the problem?
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Barkley for England.
Oh, for God's sake. Are we going to have this now all the way to the... when is the next international break, by the way?
Well, it's coming up next week, but it's the
next week?
Yeah, the squad is being picked on Thursday.
Is it?
Yes.
So we're not going to have to do this every single... We're not going to have to do this every single day until then.
Well, I just get the campaign going, and then others, who have more influence than I do on these things, pick up on it and run
people
with
with
it.
more influence than you at the FA? Surely not.
Well, there aren't many of them, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's a bit of wink, wink, nudge, nudge stuff, okay?
Isn't it nudge, nudge, wink, wink?
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink even, yes.
Why do you want
is.
Ross Barkley in the England team?
Because he's a great player.
Who are you going to kick out in order to put him in?
That's not my decision.
No, you have to kick somebody out.
No,
you do. You can't just sit there and make out that you want this man to be playing for England without making an enemy of somebody who you want to drop.
No, I don't pick the England squad. I don't pick the England team.
Thank God for that.
I'm just trying to draw to the attention of Gareth Southgate, who doesn't seem to have had much to do over the last few months, by the way.
Well, he's been around Eddie Jones's place.
Yeah, he's been around Eddie Jones's place. I tell you. Yeah.
What else? Where else did we see him?
We go to Ireland. I got beat.
Didn't he go out to... he went out to Seattle, didn't he, to check out the basketball team?
Yeah, went out to check out the basketball. Yeah. And then eventually pitched up at Goodison Park on Saturday.
Did he?
Which is the very reason why we all believe it'll be Barkley for England.
Is that the only player Everton have got that they can offer up to England now, then?
Well, no, Leighton Baines, of course, is
he's
still
not going to put him in a team, is he?
Well, who knows?
I know. He's not going to.
And at some stage in the future, I do expect Tom Davis to join the ranks of the senior
Well, maybe
England
that's who he
players.
was watching.
It could have been.
Maybe Ross Barkley's already yesterday's man.
Davis for England.
All right. I can't possibly sit through 4 days or possibly 5 days of you chanting that rubbish.
Well,
so would you please make some kind of commitment to desist?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, but I just wanted to remind people. Now, the other big issue...
I'd rather talk about the Porky Jeeks on Wigan.
Well,
I mean, you go to Wigan on Friday, right?
Yeah, I did.
On a mission which we can't really talk about.
Well, we can, actually.
Can we?
Yeah, it was to launch...
I thought you can't give undue prominence.
Well, I'm not giving undue prominence.
Really?
It's just to launch my own brand of Porky Scratchings, which incidentally have been greeted by the world with euphoria.
Really?
People are stuffing them down their face at an alarming degree.
Where can you get
these
things?
At a wonderful degree.
Oh, well, alarming might be for some people.
No, at an amazing degree. You get them in all good places.
When are you going to bring some in?
Bring some in? Why?
Well, what do you mean, why? I mean, you brought some in for Hawksby and Jacobs on Thursday, right?
Well, why do you want to buy a few packets?
I don't want to buy any, no. I'd like to sample some
so
I can tell people whether they're any good. I mean, obviously, you know better than I do. There's only one sort of gourmet in this particular partnership, and it's me. So I'll tell you whether they're any good or not.
I have already spoken to the experts, and they say they are porkier and,
I'll
more
be the
nutritious and less damaging to the teeth than most of the porky
why haven't I got any?
Well, if you want to buy some, I'll bring some
I don't want to buy any.
You don't want to buy any?
No,
okay.
I wish to sample them.
Oh, really?
Do you not understand what that means?
Yeah, well, I've seen you sampling, wine and champagne in the past.
Absolutely.
Leaves you in a terrible state, so I'm not sure that's a very good idea.
All right, well, I mean, but do you drive around with boxes of these things in the back of your car?
Yes.
Well, why don't you give me some?
Give them away. Well, I give them away to real people.
People.
What do you think about the idea that we may no longer see horses outside football grounds marshalling the crowds?
To be honest,
this is something which distresses me greatly.
I was slightly thrown by that reference to the real horses of the past as opposed to the sort of pantomime horses of the present.
Yeah, well,
I haven't seen the story that says that they're going to be withdrawn.
Yeah. Now then, here's a question for you,
Now,
okay?
you see, that's a great example of you being completely and utterly just solidified in your own world.
No.
I can tell. You just went, yeah.
It's something we can raise later. I'm just setting an agenda for you. Now,
I don't need just an agenda set for me.
Now, here's the real one. Here's the real one, right?
What real one?
Right, if I said to you, there was a man in this country who very nearly destroyed the economy, who contributed towards the wreckage of the Western world's financial systems, it is alleged, right? by being the Chief Secretary to the Treasury to a Prime Minister called Gordon Brown, who in himself thought was a financial giant bestriding the world to save the world from economic collapse.
The clunking iron fist.
The clunking iron fist and all that. If I said this man had now suddenly retired, become a sort of laugh a minute, stand up, fall down comedian impersonating a...
Stand up, fall down?
Yeah, stand up, fall down comedian, impersonating a ballroom dancer. Yeah. And if I further said to you, and one of his other responsibilities is to steer the destiny of one of Britain's most famous football clubs, and then has suddenly decided to sack the manager.
He sounds a busy guy, this guy.
Yeah. Would you believe?
Well, there's been so many managers sacked lately. Yeah. I'm not sure you can. I've actually pinpointed precisely who you mean.
Well, what I'm talking about is Ed Balls.
Ed Balls,
who happens to be chairman of Norwich.
Was one of your hate figures.
Well, he's not one of my hate figures. He's just a man who who wants to be taken as a clown in one aspect of his life. That's strictly ballroom dancing.
Right.
Who wanted to be taken terribly seriously.
Yes.
As a chief secretary to the Treasury, except he did it during a time when the world's economy nearly collapsed, and who wants to be an important figure in the world of football by being chairman of Norwich City Football Club.
Yes.
I don't think you can do all three.
Why did they suddenly sack Alex Neil, by the way?
I've no idea, because he was just hovering below the promotion places, up to the Premier League.
What do you mean, the playoff places?
The playoff places, the Holy Grail, the Premier League of where football is in the world. And all of a sudden, he's down the yellow brick road.
Well, they're 9th currently, with 54 points.
Exactly.
Which is not that far off, but I suppose they're 8 points off the playoffs. But the Championship's got a bit mad, though.
It has,
I mean, apparently, I'm looking forward to reading this story in one of the papers this morning, The Guardian, in which it says that the guy that owns Olympiacos is buying his way into Nottingham Forest. However, apparently, he's going to bring Mark Warburton with him and his assistant from Rangers.
That's the idea, yeah. Well, Mark Warburton knew that a few weeks ago. I think that's why he suddenly decided...
Is that the job that he left to go and do, you think? I thought he was getting a job in the Championship.
No. Well, Forest are in the Championship.
No, I know that, but I mean a different job.
No, I think that's the one that was always the focal point of where he was going. But the interesting thing is, of course, Mr. Warburton says he never resigned from Rangers in the first place. Yeah. So, I'm not sure...
Mind you, they're doing all right since he left. They drew with Celtic.
Absolutely right, yeah. Oh, and have you seen the new Rangers manager, by the way? Strode in today. He's a Portuguese guy and said this is the biggest club in Scotland, if not the world.
Right.
And somebody challenged him and said, well, you're not doing very well, and you haven't been doing very well for the last 3 or 4 seasons. Then pointed out they'd won more Premier League titles than Celtic.
Right.
And that they had some other... He said 2 numbers... 64, I think, which was the number of Premier League titles they'd won.
Right.
And then he mentioned another number.
Right.
And I'm not sure what the
number of cups or something?
Oh, something like that, yeah. And, number of years. That's right. Oh, yes, 146 years.
Yeah, but of course, people in Scotland will say that that's not true, because they will say that that's the old Rangers as opposed to the new Rangers, which has only been around for a couple of years.
Yes, well, that's probably true. But
there's a lot of stories from Scotland at the moment as well.
A lot of stories from Scotland.
See, they want to have another referendum.
Another referendum, I know. Yeah,
until they get the result they want.
That's right, yeah.
Harsh,
so it's all been happening in our absence.
It has. What about Steve McLaren? He's gone again.
Well, like you say in England.
What's the bet that he turns up at Norwich?
You say that, things are not so good. We'll have to go back to Holland.
What if you get a bit of success? Well, they might give him a job at Norwich.
Yeah, they might do, yeah.
Mate Ed Balls might have a soft spot for him.
And the other guy I feel sorry for is the Wigan manager who's been sacked. And the reason I feel sorry for him is I don't know his name, and I don't think anybody else did.
No, but hang on. You go to Wigan on Friday, right?
Yeah, that's right.
For the shortest ever visit to any place in the world, right? You were there for about 2 hours.
Yes.
You leave there, and immediately over the weekend, they called the first strike ever on the trains that go in and out of Wigan.
They did, yeah.
So I was sent a tweet this morning by someone who said, look, here's the picket line of all these characters stopping people going onto the trains. There's no trains.
Yeah.
And then the Wigan manager gets fired.
That's right, he does, yeah. And on the way back, by the way, I met a fellow sort of radio industry employee.
On the way back from where?
From Wigan.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's
on the way from Wigan Pier.
Well, no, when you get on the train at Wigan, you're actually getting on the Glasgow Express.
Really?
It's come from Glasgow.
Because I don't think I've ever stopped at Wigan on the Glasgow train.
No, well, we did when we went to...
Did we?
When we went to Glasgow, yeah. It's Wigan, Warrington Bank Quay.
Right.
2 fine cities or towns.
Warrington's okay, I would say. It's not a fine city.
And then, next stop is like Rugby.
What about Carlisle? Well, which way are you going?
Well, I'm going south to London, you idiot. I wasn't going to Glasgow, was I?
Well, you weren't in Warrington, were you?
Yeah. Widnes is north of Warrington.
Widnes?
Wigan. Wigan is north of Warrington.
About? So you go... So Warrington, Wigan, Widnes.
No, witness is not in it.
There's a fourth word beginning with W, but I don't want to say it.
Forget witness, no. It's you get on at Wigan.
Witness.
You go through Warrington Bank Quay.
Right.
And then you go through Warwickshire.
Watford.
And Watford Gap, and eventually you get to London. And that's it.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, we've got Postman Pork later on. Which we're going to film live on Facebook, of course.
I've got one very exciting letter amongst many exciting letters in Postman Pork. Oh, very exciting.
Well, I've got a feeling there's a couple of things that have come for me as well.
Oh, no, there haven't, no. The new Rangers manager is a Portuguese chap.
You told me he was Portuguese.
No, he's a mate of Jose's.
What's his name? He's not a mate of Karanka's as well, then, is he?
No.
He must be, because Karanka's a mate of Jose's.
Oh, is he? Is he Portuguese?
Yes, he's from the guy's Middlesbrough manager.
Yeah, of course he is, yeah. And
I've seen the time, by the way.
And all I can say is this: he rings up Jose, and Jose,
the special one.
It's Fred here, and
Fred
he offered the job at Rangers. What do you think?
Yeah.
Jose said, "You must take it." So he's taken it.
Lorenzo Amoruso is my favourite Rangers player. He said shortly after they won the league one time, and I was up there, he's being interviewed on the pitch.
Yeah.
Rangers is my life. I won't sign a new contract. The next day he was on a plane to Milan.
Yeah, that's
he
right.
never came back.
No, exactly. He had quite a few friendships up there, didn't he?
He certainly did. Busy boy. Yeah. Can't say too much. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
It's a wonderful night, gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night, gotta shake it for me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Tim Vicker is going to join us a little bit later on as well. Yep. First up, Billy Garton, the former Man United player, will have a word as well. Because Jose Mourinho, according to you, wanted to win the FA Cup this season. And so, because of the fact that he lost and is now out, it's not looking too good. They're going to have to win the Europa League now, aren't they? In order to get some kind of trophy. But they've got a tough game coming up this week as well.
Yes.
Against that Russian mob.
The Russian mob.
Yeah, Rostov or something.
Rostov, that's right. That's where didn't one of those red top journos have a problem getting there, missed the plane or something?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a bit of a Twitter storm about it.
That's right, there was.
People took against him.
They certainly
He's a top man, though. He loves the show. Loves our show.
Really, does he?
He does.
I thought he'd blocked a few of us.
No, he's unblocked me again now.
Oh, we're unblocked, are we?
He's no longer on the blocked list.
Ooh, that's okay.
So that's exciting. So, there's still plenty of people on there, though, don't worry.
Yeah.
Now, how about this from somebody called Mark, who says, at the Two Mics, you have to say it'd be pretty funny if Ed Balls would have become a top executive at Everton in the future.
No chance of that happening whatsoever.
Are you absolutely certain?
Oh, I'm absolutely certain, mate. The people who run Everton are people who know about football, who know about Everton, who know about what's best for the club and what's best for the players who represent the club. And there is absolutely no chance of taking a former failed politician, which most politicians are, including Mr. Balls.
Failed politician.
I would say he's a failed politician because he got pitched out after
surely if he's a failed politician,
an election defeat.
He's still a failed politician.
Yeah, he is,
as opposed to a former failed politician.
Well, a failed politician then. No chance of people like that unveiling themselves upon the mighty Everton Football Club. I can tell you that for sure.
All right, how about this one from the Verminator? He says, since when was Steve McLaren German?
Well, he's
hashtag Herr Planko.
Yeah, well, he's not, but he became Dutch, didn't he?
He did become Dutch,
an adoptee Dutcher, if you see what I mean. Yeah.
I bet he ends up in another job in the Championship. Michael says this, I love Porky's dismissive tone when you end a sentence, Mr. G.
No, it's not dismissive at all. I consider everything that you say for about 0.1 seconds.
I know that, yeah. Paul says this, Barkley for England, he's way overrated. Even better Everton fans than Porky say he wouldn't get in a top 5 team. They seem to like him at Everton. And then one from Coochie says, hi, MG and Porky. Any chance of a mention for my daughter Isabel, who is 8 on Thursday? She always laughs at you and Porky bickering.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we don't bicker. We have what we'd call frank debate.
High-level discussion.
What's the young lady's name?
Isabel.
Isabel, I want to wish you a very, very happy birthday on Thursday, 8 years of age and getting bigger and better all the time. Have a lovely day.
Robbie says this, 5 minutes in and all Porky's banged on about is Everton and his pork scratchings. No. Self-interested plank.
No, not at all. I mean, look, I can't help the fact that there's a massive demand around the world for a product which I happen to be associated with.
Yeah, now it was mentioned. mentioned.
my fault, is it?
No, it was mentioned earlier by Darren Lewis about an appearance on Sky TV yesterday.
Is he the scumbag red top
Well,
reporter?
I don't know why you keep referring to him as that.
You know, people
I don't
do.
think that's a very nice way to describe Darren Lewis. He's a good friend of mine, Darren.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well,
I used to work with him at the Daily Mirror.
Did you? Okay, yeah. Well, that doesn't say a lot, does it? But anyway,
well,
go on. Yeah.
You know, he's a top man. Freddie says this: who or what gave the fat man the ludicrous idea of showing so much chest hair on Sky? Just needed a medallion for full chavaration. That was you, of course. You got a lot of complaints that you had too many buttons undone.
Well, the point is,
like sort of Jason King does the paper review.
I mean, for goodness' sake, you know, the cut of my suit was commented upon royally, and it just so happened that was the right style of shirt attire to go with it. You know, it's simple as that.
A great one here from Scottish Bull. Lorenzo Amoruso pumped half of Glasgow when he was up here. He's a mass Rogeriser.
What?
Scottish Bull.
What?
Nearly as prolific as you, MG. Shocking thing to say.
It's a shocking thing to say. However, it is well known that old Amoruso
was a bit of a mass Rogeriser. Well, because he was built for it. I mean, he looked like a hero from one of these Mills and Boon romantic novels.
He did, yeah.
Bodice rippers.
The problem was, I mean, we can't say too much here, can we? But,
well, don't then.
Well, I mean, I think we
You're incapable of keeping any secrets, aren't you?
It's not that. It's just that I don't believe we should withhold information from our...
our lawyers have a different belief.
All I will say is that we know somebody, and I'm not going any further than that. I'm not saying whether they were in the journalistic profession, they were just a friend, they were in the football profession or whatever, whose wife, I'm afraid, fell into the clutches of Amoruso.
Well, fortunately for you, the Amoruso story is so wide-ranging that doesn't actually necessarily have to apply to any one particular individual.
Exactly.
But that's enough about that.
Yes.
Because I would rather pick up on something that I noticed when we were at Sky with the lovely Sarah Jane Mee. And also with Jackie Beltrao.
It was great to see Jackie. It was great to see Sarah Jane. Thank you very much indeed.
The trouble with seeing Jackie was that she wanted to talk to me quite a bit, but her eyes kept glazing over as you were describing your lavish lifestyle to her.
I didn't describe any lavish lifestyle.
As we were leaving the studio at one point, after we'd finished one of the because you do like 3 little slots.
Yes,
we did one at 6:40, one at 7:40. And one at 8:30.
Yes.
And as we were walking out, you were regaling her about your so-called patio.
Oh, yes, I was. Yes, that's right.
I had to point out you didn't have a patio.
Yeah.
I then heard you using the immortal words, well, of course, it's a roof terrace, but it's got some very expensive Italian tiles on it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
No, it's true.
Telling her that they were very expensive Italian tiles. Then you were raving on about the penthouse, which, of course, we know doesn't exist.
Excuse me.
You know, when I turned around to look at the expression on her face, her eyes were literally glazing over.
No, they weren't. I'll tell you where this started.
Literally glazing over.
Jackie is a great lady and known her for years, and she's really good fun. And
she is wonderful,
and terrifically good at her job, because she used to be, of course, an international athlete. You know.
Yes, of course.
Anyway, what she said.
So with that, you and she have quite a lot in common, then.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yeah. So she said to me, and this is not breaking any secrets.
No, she did not say anything to you. She was talking to both of us.
Okay, all right. Well, all right. I thought she was.
Well, of course you did, because you only see your world. You only see through one set of eyes.
All she said to me was, and I'm sure I'm not breaking the confidence here, was that
you probably are.
She's going home to water jet the patio.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what people do at this time of the year to clear the.
And you tried to join in the conversation by making out that you had a patio, which of course you don't have.
I didn't. All I did was helping you by saying, well, when I last had my roof garden retiled in Italian slate.
Very expensive Italian slate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what we do is we don't anymore have grouting or cement between the tiles. We have very expensive sort of bracket type things which hold the tiles in place.
Yeah, but all I noticed was these consistent references to very expensive Italian. Rich. At one point, you mentioned staying in a very expensive hotel.
I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Where did I say that?
Yeah, you said that in an earlier conversation. You know, because your conversation. Well, it's because your conversation is littered with you trying to impress people with how much money you've got.
Well, hang on.
Why did you wear the Rolex, for example?
Well, it's the most accurate watch I've got.
Why not wearing it now?
Of the essence. What?
Why not wearing it now?
Well, because you might knock it about in a radio studio in a way that you don't in a TV studio.
How's that different?
Well, in a radio studio, there's more equipment.
No, there isn't.
The microphone's stuck in front of your face.
There's no cameras for a start.
Yeah, but the cameras are well away from you. Anyway, look, I'm fed up with all this. Where was I talking about expensive hotels?
You mentioned it when we were having a little chat around.
In what context?
In the context of one of the stories that we were doing.
I don't believe you.
You said about, do you remember the story we did about Chester?
Chester, yes. Oh, yes, of course, about the Grosvenor Hotel in Chester. Yes, okay, yeah.
And then you mentioned other expensive hotels that you'd stayed in.
Well, look, what can you... It's just, you see, the trouble with you is you're so envious of...
I'm not envious at all.
Of the way I've planned my life, that any time I mention something which is...
You've actually planned your life to end up like this, have you?
No. Any time I mention anything which is just normal to me...
Normal.
You say, oh, you're being excessive, and you're
well, that's because I'm your conscience. I'm
shouting
the person,
your mouth off.
I'm the person that keeps you on the straight and narrow.
I tell you what really
it wasn't for me.
Tell you what really upset me over the weekend.
Yeah.
The death of the eldest Sister Sledge.
Did it?
Yeah, it's terrible. Joni.
Maybe we should have a musical tribute.
Yeah, well, I think we will. In fact, I think we'll do something like that, definitely, because I think, such a young age, 60 years of age, and she was...
Younger than you.
She was the eldest sister in probably one of the greatest girl bands of all time, wouldn't you say? Sister Sledge?
No.
Oh, I would.
No.
Who's better then?
Who's better than Sister Sledge?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a whole litany of girl bands that are better.
Go on.
Well, Janis Joplin was better than Sister Sledge.
She wasn't a band. She was
Janis Joplin
singer.
wasn't a band.
No, she was a singer.
Well, of course she was a band.
No, she wasn't. Name a band.
Fleetwood Mac were better.
I
said, two women in them.
Hang on, I said the girl band. Now, I could name one for you, you see, right off the top of my head.
Well, the Spice Girls.
No, the Supremes, you idiot.
The Supremes were a lot better.
No, they weren't a lot better, but they were of a different generation. But Sister Sledge...
Look, I realise that you love that kind of music, and that's fine.
We're lost in music. Caught in a trap.
What?
No turning back. We're lost in music.
When I said musical tribute, I meant playing their music rather than actually you singing it.
Nowhere I've been.
Yeah, I wish you were lost somewhere else.
I'm only 17. I'm lost in music.
This is Talk Sport.
It's very harsh.
One night in the disco on the outskirts.
You like that one?
Yeah, I quite like it. Yeah. But as I said to you, and I shall have words with the man in charge of the buttons, John, in a minute, my favourite one was Lost in Music.
Okay, well, maybe we'll have that one later.
I was king of the discos, as I was telling you this morning, in Birmingham in the late 70s.
So you say. I can't imagine anything worse.
And Lost in Music was the one we all spun around to.
I mean, sort of Richard III style king of disco, I would imagine. Please, can you tell that Plank Parry to stop ruining classics, says Ron.
What?
Who's a Man City fan. That was the worst rendition of Lost in Music anyone will ever hear. Please stop.
Do you remember that this morning I pointed out to you when we were having a discussion about Crufts, which you were getting all hot and bothered about?
Not particularly hot and bothered. I just think that Crufts is a sort of rather stupid competition, and I can't stand the fact that so much of it is on TV.
And I did say to you, the problem is they're breeding these strange sort of dogs.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at a piece now. It's in one of tomorrow morning's papers. Oh, yeah. Is Crufts now a cruel parade of mutant mutts? Because
they must have been listening to us yesterday morning.
Exactly, because they start breeding these dogs which are unusual and all that to try and make them different and win them things. I mean,
and it doesn't. I mean, the winning dog does not look like a dog.
It doesn't.
I mean, it's been sort of blow dried within an inch of its life.
I totally agree.
JPK says this: when are Everton going to begin the search for a new manager, given Koeman's impending departure to Barcelona?
See, I don't respond to things like that because it's just ridiculous, to be honest.
Well, the story doesn't go away, though.
What?
The story hasn't gone away.
Well, of course, it doesn't go away because people love speculating on things they know nothing about.
I see.
This is the point.
Right.
Ronald Koeman is not going to Barcelona.
Well,
not
you keep
this summer
saying
or
that.
any other summer.
You keep
so
saying
don't worry
that.
about it.
You keep saying that, but
Yes.
we shall see.
Yes.
Paul Wilson says this: Everton's young superstars, including Rodwell, Jeffers, Ball, and Stones. Mm-hmm. And he's got big thumbs down for all of them.
Well, Jeffers' career just imploded upon himself. He got way above his station, went to Arsenal on what was a big fee in those days. I think it was about 12 million, and his career just disappeared. I mean, he literally just petered out.
Yeah.
He's one of those famous member of the famous club of played one, scored one, and that was it.
Yeah.
For England, he played once, he scored once, and that was it. So, you can't compare him with anybody else because he just wasted his own career.
Stones, of course, another story altogether.
Yep. Well, Stones was going to be the £80 million defender had he stayed at Everton. He's now gone to City and devalued his reputation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Thomas says this: I love the way Porky always pointed his left wrist towards the camera when he was on Sky. Man of the people.
No, that's rubbish.
Well, there's lots of pictures of you flashing the old Rolex.
Well, I can't help the fact that if I happen to have my hand on the left side of my face, resting my chin in my hand...
You never sit like that when you're in here.
Well, no, I don't, because we have a microphone in front of us here, and in the TV studio, you don't. You lean towards the person you're talking to.
Right.
But anyway, look, I'm fed of all these
I don't know why
envious
you're so
and ridiculous observations.
I don't see why you're fed up with all of the critique. We've had lots of lovely tweets, and we've also had tweets from people who are mocking you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with it.
I don't mind sharing a joke with anybody, but
if you're going to be on television, you've got to have a thick skin.
If people are, having a go at me, you better be prepared to get a whack or two in return.
See, it's all violence with you. Lee says this: "Hi, Mike. It's my 45th birthday tomorrow. Any chance of a mention tonight? Many thanks, Lee, the bus driver.
Right.
My mates will love it."
And where's Lee from?
It doesn't say.
Okay, Lee, the bus driver, 45th birthday.
Yeah.
Have a great day, my boy. It's another great milestone in your life. And I'd love to know how long you've been a bus driver, because you could become a legend in your own lifetime, in your own business. Well done.
Why would you want to become a legendary bus driver?
Well, you might do. You might know every single route by heart in a bus company that's got maybe 220 different routes or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I've got some bad news for you.
Yes.
A piece that was passed to me earlier on in the day.
Oh, yes.
Apparently, Wetherspoons are hiking their prices.
Oh, are they?
Have you heard this?
No.
Well, apparently, they've decided to do this because they haven't done it for such a long time, particularly in certain parts of the country.
Okay.
They're inflation-busting hikes, which will add nearly 4% in some cases, were unveiled just before Philip Hammond's new budget.
Oh.
So basically, your burger and drink deal has risen on average from $7.25 to $7.40.
Yeah.
Chicken burger has jumped from $4.59 to $4.75. A pint of Kronenberg has gone from $3.09 to $3.19.
Well, why are you picking on Wetherspoons?
Well, I'm not picking on them. It's just a news story.
No, but that's happened. That's happened in loads of retail establishments because of the devaluation of the pound.
But it's very different for Wetherspoons because Wetherspoons is a massive chain, as you know, right?
And the increased
and
cost
Tim
of...
Martin is something of a Brexit campaigner, you'd have to say.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
So he's a guy who would know all about why the pressures are mounting on him to put prices up, because people will say, why, because of Brexit, are prices going up? And he presumably is going to be giving you the answers.
Okay, all I can say is that when you want value for money, I don't find it anywhere better than Wetherspoons. I'm not an ambassador for them or anything like that. Just happen to...
We haven't got time, have we?
Using their place. I have fish and chips there on a Friday. I find them incredibly good value for money.
Do you get like a meal deal then for that? I mean, is it about 7 something?
I think it is, and you get. I think you get a pint of beer included in the price of the fish and chips, and I usually have a glass of wine with it, and it's not expensive.
It says here, one bar in Oxted in Surrey. You know that one?
Yeah, Oxted. Well, I know Oxted. I don't know the Wetherspoons pub there.
Breakfast deals have gone up, with porridge rising from $2.39 to $2.45.
Yeah,
toast from $1.59 to $1.65.
It's not much, is it?
It's 6 pence.
6 pence
on $1.50. That's quite a lot.
I can tell you the average value of a house in Oxted is about £1 million, so it ain't going to bother anybody from there, believe me.
Well, do you think Wetherspoons in Oxted is full of millionaires?
Oh, well, I'd imagine there'll be a few in there because there's a lot of millionaires in Oxted, believe me.
Well, apparently a lot of customers are not happy.
Sorry?
A lot of the customers are not happy.
Well, customers aren't happy if they pay more. I just don't know why you're picking on one particular
I'm not picking on it.
chain of pubs.
I mention it because you mention it so often, because you go there so often.
Yeah, well...
So I just thought you should know.
Yeah, OK, well,
it's part of my education process.
You drink a lot of champagne very often. You waste your money on it instead of spending it on, your children's welfare. But do I ever mention the fact that champagne has gone up considerably because of the devaluation of the pound? Well, no, I don't.
I don't think it has, but I'll tell you what, I did notice in America that the price of a Jaguar has actually gone down.
Pa's car is a Jaguar.
When
Pa drives rather far. I love that.
You're all right, by the way.
Come on.
Sorry,
what were you saying? The price of a Jaguar has gone up in America. Why should that concern me one iota? I am not going to buy my next Jaguar in America.
I'm not suggesting you are, but I mean, I know that it's very hard for you to imagine anything outside of your own personal sphere of influence or interest. But the reason that sometimes devaluation of the pound is good is that products overseas sell for less money.
Yes, that's right.
And so therefore they sell more of them.
Yes.
Because I was talking to a friend of my sister's in Connecticut, right?
Really?
Who's just bought a new car, and he just bought a new BMW.
Yeah.
And the BMW that he bought, I was very surprised, turns out to be more expensive than my Jaguar.
Really?
Which you can now get over there for about $45,000.
Is that right?
Which I think is good news for British exports. That's why.
Somebody told me that 2 feet of snow had fallen on Connecticut.
Well, they're expecting 2 feet of snow. There's a storm Stella on its way, and it's coming around about sort of 5 o'clock in the morning US time.
Yes.
And we'll be talking to... In fact, I'll tell you what, we'll probably be talking to a couple couple of people in New York way in the next couple of days. So
I'm sure we will.
If the 2 feet of snow do fall, it's going to be pretty bad.
You'll hear about it first here.
You will
indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Right, now, we need to get back to these police horses, don't we? Because the idea of...
Well, a couple of people have asked me for you to elaborate, please, because they can't find the story.
They can't find the story. Well, what I can tell you is happening is that police forces trying to tell us all that they're under budgetary pressure.
Yes.
My view is that police forces take on far too much of a responsibility for things which used to be the responsibility of either the social services department in this country or of voluntary organisations, OK? But they seem to be, an adjunct now to the social services directory. They seem to be going around.
Well, what's happening to the actual police horses that are currently... Because we saw some police horses, did we not, when we were up at Wembley for the League Cup final?
Yes.
2 or 3 weeks ago?
That's right, yeah.
And as we were walking back to the station... We saw a bunch of them, and they had the little visors on and everything.
We did.
So what's happening to the current police horses?
Police chiefs are saying the budget cuts mean there are no longer enough police horses to cover major public events. Instead, mounted branches may have to be replaced by dogs, officers on foot, or on bikes, or CCTV cameras.
Well, they look pretty stupid sitting on top of dogs, aren't
they? They certainly would, yeah. You remember that famous song, and people laugh when I go past on our Alsatian dog. Don't remember that?
No.
Who's
like that?
The oldest swinger in the West, or, no, I know, the Rochdale Cowboy.
No.
It's the Rochdale, it is, honestly.
Don't remember it.
It is, honestly. They call me the Rochdale Cowboy.
Well, who was the Rochdale Cowboy?
Well, he was Mike somebody who was a singer.
Really?
He was a Northern Club singer, and he wrote a song called The Rochdale Cowboy.
Mike Harding, I'm being told.
Mike Harding,
I've never heard that.
And the chorus was, and people laugh when I ride past an Alsatian dog. Oh, I'm the Rochdale Cowboy.
I think we're going to have to put some kind of a moratorium on your singing tonight. It's absolutely horrendous.
Absolutely unbelievable. But anyway,
but what's going to happen to the horses is what I'm saying. You haven't answered that.
Well, the horses are just going to be pensioned off. It says here, mounted police capacity has fallen by 19% in the past 5 years. This was a paper presented to the Chief Constable's Council by Justine Curran, who until recently headed Humberside Police. She said the fall highlights the risk that police may not be able to access the required level of mounted police services, OK?
Right.
Just a dozen of the 45 forces in Britain have horses. Just a dozen out of 45.
Yeah.
Despite an academic review commissioned in 2014 concluded that mounted units have a unique role in dealing with crowds, OK?
Yes.
What is the most famous police horse in history? Go on, tell me.
The one that got punched by the Newcastle fan.
No, it's the horse from the 1923 FA Cup final, and I happen to know...
the one whose rear end you put into the worst museum in the world.
The Football Museum, and because of that, I happen to know uniquely that horse's name was Billy, and of course we need many more horses like him. There's a pub named after him called the White Horse Bridge.
Are you sure that he's more famous than the one that got punched by the Newcastle fan?
Of course, I'm sure. The man stopped a massacre. Wembley was built for 100,000 people, and that day there were at least 124,000 there.
Oh, yeah.
And if it hadn't been for Billy marshalling the crowds, it could have been a disaster.
Right. Well, so there was no disaster, and so maybe he didn't do anything. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mikes, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
I'd been a cowboy in Rochdale. The spurs don't fit right on me clogs. It's I've been a cowboy in Rochdale, 'cause people laugh when I ride past an our Alsatian dog. When sun shines...
I can honestly say I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
Never.
Well, you've had a sheltered
When did that come
upbringing.
out then? Was it 70s
Oh,
or something?
crikey. Mid-70s, something like that, I don't know.
It's a sort of Benny Hill style song, isn't it?
Yeah, it was that sort of thing. But, of course, you can imagine the scenes on Top of the Pops as Mike Harding comes on.
Yeah.
And they bring on a rocking horse type dog, you know what I mean?
Rocking horse type dog.
Yeah, and he sits on it and starts rocking back and forth.
Right.
I've been a cowboy in
I was too busy,
Rochdale.
I think, at the time going to see Deep Purple concerts.
Yeah,
and,
maybe,
Led Zeppelin and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but never mind, we're going to talk to Billy Garton, who I think may be too young to have remembered that, but you never know.
Manchester's not far from Rochdale.
No, I know that, but
Yeah, exactly.
he may not be old enough to remember it. Let's ask him. Billy, very good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah,
Morning,
very
Billy.
well.
Pretty good,
Do
thank
you
you.
remember the Rochdale rocking horse type dog song?
No, my granddad did, though. He was telling me about it, but...
Bit harsh, that, Billy.
They're very harsh.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I'm old, but I'm not ancient.
No,
Yeah,
quite
good
right.
man.
And more Porky, on the other hand, is ancient, but actually not very old, strangely enough. Now, what did you make of the performance last night? Jose Mourinho set the team up to be a bit of a spoiling sort of scenario, trying to injure Eden Hazard early on.
Yeah.
But it all kind of went a bit wrong for him.
I thought it was a really even game up until the point of the red card, and then, obviously it became an impossible task beyond that. I was pretty impressed at the beginning with the way they were going about it. They were going to try and make it as awkward and as difficult for Chelsea as they possibly could, and I thought that tactically he got it pretty spot on up to that stage, and then, as I say, the sending off just makes it almost an impossible task against a really good Chelsea team. But it does infuriate me, the nature of the game at the moment, and even referees now are buying into it with, players can't be touched, and players in particular like Hazard get not only now every decision going for them, but also get a protective bubble from a referee, and that really does infuriate me. And I would be saying exactly the same, by the way, if it was a United player that was throwing himself on the ground every time he was touched or nudged. But, Hazard has there's three things when a player's taking on another player. I'm going to beat you, you're going to foul me, or you're going to take the ball away from me. And the third one is never an option with Hazard. He's either beating you or he's getting fouled. And referees are buying into that as well these days. And it's just a sad reflection to me of the lack of contact that's allowed in the game these days. It's protected in every capacity and makes a mockery of the game, in my opinion.
So, Billy, are you saying that if you go out with a destructive policy like that, your plan is to, unsettle, close down and disrupt the opposition, rather than exercising your own skills to try and overcome them with bright flowing football, then you're going to come a cropper?
Well, there's more, there's many ways to skin a cat, as they say. And playing football to me is not just about expansive open play and making it more like a basketball game. You attack us and we'll attack you. There's strategy and tactics and little nuances that go into making life difficult for the opponent, and everybody knows that Hazard is a major threat, and coming up with a strategy to try to nullify what he can do, as many teams have done against a Messi or a Ronaldo and many other players in the past. He's all part of the game, and if ultimately before the game's even started a referee has a preconceived idea that he's going to protect a particular player, then it just makes a mockery of the game, and I think it's a bad direction that the game is going in. If that's going to be the case, after 20 minutes that a referee is going to give complete protection to one particular individual, I would much prefer the individual or the coach of the opposing team to find another way to go for him, rather than looking to the referee to ultimately wrap him in cotton wool.
Yeah, I understand.
No, I suppose the problem is, Billy, that if it does appear, and sometimes the appearance of victimisation in these things is more important than the actual reality of it. If it appears that 3 or 4 different players are going for one guy, which it did look a bit like, no matter how sort of mild the challenges are, it looks premeditated, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I still think that it depends on the player. There's many players that have played and are playing currently that will give as good as they get, that ride tackles and carry on and stay on their feet, that don't. I mean, it's not by chance that he's the most fouled player in the Premier League and has been probably every season that he's played there, because he's obviously an intelligent, clever player, because he sucks people into fouling him. But referees have, to me. There was one tackle in that game where Pogba actually tackled him and cleanly got the ball, and 99 times out of 100, he's going to get called a foul. And that happens way too often with a player like that, and I would just prefer him to tough it out a little bit more and accept that there are times when you are challenged and it is not a foul. Just because he falls on his backside doesn't mean that he's been fouled. And some of the contact, the limited contact, forces him to go to ground, and referees buy into it that it's like a foul when, I'm not saying that it's a high percentage, but there are a number of times when it's not a foul. He just has to get on with it. And and referees have got to go with that strategy as much as the opponent has.
Right. Now, this doesn't leave much for Jose Mourinho to go for, really. Europa League is about the only trophy that Manchester United can get their hands on after having won the League Cup, right? So, is it a good first season for him if they don't win the Europa League and they don't make it into the top four?
I think it'd be a disappointment if they didn't go all the way in the Europa League and they didn't get in the top four. That would be, I think, ultimately a disappointment. I think a point that I made a few weeks back was that if they were still in all competitions going into the final stages of the season, then that may be deemed as like a near miss. I think if they're in contention for top four and still in with a shout of going to the final of the Europa League, I think irrespective then of how it turns out, I think it will still be deemed that it's been an exciting, like a near miss for them. And I think I've said all along, this season to me should be considered a platform for him and the club. It's far better than it was on the previous years under Van Gaal and Moyes, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. So, you know, for me, if they finish outside the top four and go close in the Europa League and still continue to try to play that attractive brand of football, I think I would certainly consider it a successful building year for the club.
Indeed.
OK. Well, Billy, thank you very much
Billy.
indeed. Manchester United, of course, take on their Russian counterparts after a 1-1 draw in the first leg on Thursday. That'll be live, I'm sure, right here on Talk Sport.
Certainly will be,
A couple of tweets here. One from Richard.
Yes.
It says, Sister Sledge were great, but owe their success to Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards, a.k.a. Chic, who wrote and produced them, which I think is pretty true.
Well, it's true to the extent that they remodelled their sound and their music and all that, but somebody's got to present that on stage, and four glamorous-looking girls who can sing beautifully and move beautifully have to take a lot of the credit for it. Yes, Nile Rodgers was a genius, wasn't he, who created a lot of the disco era. There's one here. It says, hi, guys, to the two mics.
Yes.
I've just been on a 20-mile drive to a call-out for a faulty smoke alarm.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for keeping me going. Been on the go since 7 a.m. Monday.
Nothing worse than a faulty smoke alarm.
That's one to see. Oh, nothing worse indeed. And one here, which is, I think it's having a bit of a dig at me.
Oh, yeah.
It says here that somebody, I've lost it now, but it said somebody heard me on Sky this morning.
Yeah.
And when I was asked where I lived, I said, Surrey. Have I moved? Because I used to live in Stockbroke Surrey.
I did wonder whether I should point that out, whether you've now moved to a part of Surrey which hasn't got any stockbrokers in it.
Yeah.
Maybe Oxted, where the Wetherspoons is.
Could be, yeah.
How about this from Weeds? He says, the way Porky's waffling on, I think it's his head that's full of expensive grouting.
Well, that's very very harsh.
Because Robert also says, Mike, international playboy, Parry, man of the people, and Italian slate salesman.
Well, no, not at all. Somebody here called Crystal says, never mind about the Rochdale cowboy Porky. You are the TalkSport cowboy. Ah. It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it does seem a little bit on the harsh side.
Oh, it was Jerry, by the way, who sent that in. Did Porky move in the past week? On Sky this morning, he said he lived in Surrey.
Yeah.
And not in Stockbroke Belt, Surrey.
Well, you've already read that one out, though.
No, I didn't say it was Jerry. I'm just pointing that out.
Oh, right, OK. Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking to Tim Vickery. We'll find out what's going on in his part of the world. We've got Champions League, of course, as well.
Yes.
I mean, last week's Champions League action was pretty exciting, you'd have to say.
Oh, it was very exciting.
We're going to have a long way to go to beat that, aren't we?
Yeah, I've got a great story as well about all sorts of things.
A great story about all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Trying to give us a slightly more of a clue.
Well, I'll give you the clue here, and the clue is that expensive parents in Stockbroke Belt, Surrey...
Expensive parents?
Wealthy parents.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Who sent their children to expensive schools.
Yes.
Used to like to send their children after school to extra lessons in playing the violin and the cello and the double bass.
Oh, yes.
They now want those abandoned, and they want their children taught how to go vlogging.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Vlogging, eh?
Vlogging.
Right, well, we'll find out what that's all about coming up in the next hour.
Yes.
We are the two mics. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Quite a few people being rather critical of Mr. Billy Gartley, who was on a bit earlier on, saying they didn't enjoy his particular view of the game. But, some people don't like some other people's opinions.
Well,
There's no need to be rude about it.
No.
Gordo's asking if I'm still off the fags, which I am.
Yes.
Which I'm very happy to say so.
Yeah, I have to say, you've got to give you credit for that, if you are actually off the fags.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, if you go down to Sussex and you take your dog for a walk, then you're in a wilderness on your own, aren't you?
Well, what's the point of killing yourself? I mean, either you go off them or you don't. I mean, I know that you live a life by self-deception. I don't.
No.
Once I've decided to do something, I do it.
Yeah, but
there's not any point in pretending to give up cigarettes, is there?
Yeah, but you want a bit of sort of public, pat on the back, don't you?
Absolutely not.
I've given up smoking,
No, I don't.
you know what I mean?
No, I could not care less. I do not want any public ordure or praise or anything. I mean, you're the one that likes to be thought of as Mr. Popular.
No,
I don't
not
care
at all, not at
whether
all.
people like what I do or are interested
Not
in
at
what
all.
I do. If people wish me well, as most people have,
Yes.
unlike you,
Yes.
then that's very nice.
Yes.
All you've done is, one, question the motivation for me doing it. You've also questioned whether, in fact, I'm doing it at all.
Well, indeed.
And many people have said that's really just because you now won't have anyone to bum free cigarettes from.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah, like I bump free cigarettes. I don't think so.
Well, I've got lots of pictorial evidence of that if you wish me to start putting them out.
Yes.
R. Stoddard says this, will Porky be reviewing the two mics on Sky News on Porky Vision?
Yes, that's a very good question.
Well, a couple of people have asked this question. I think it might be slightly cannibalistic.
I think it'll be cannibalistic, self-serving, and
rather not like you.
Rather overindulgent. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The point is, we're still getting an awful lot of people who want to know all about it and are asking about it, and so we've just put out a little clip.
Okay.
Or I certainly have anyway.
Haven't you put out the whole thing?
I've put out a compilation of the 3 slots that we did.
Yes.
So thanks very much
Well,
indeed
that's all
for
of
all
it,
your
right?
interest.
Yes.
That is great.
All right, well, we'll retweet that as
one
well.
of the things we talked about, by the way, and it's terribly interesting, was this, what you highlighted, was the manner in which Adele gets onto a stage.
Yes.
Now, what is this all about?
Well, they apparently have to smuggle her on stage in a box, right? Because they say, and I'm starting to slightly worry about Adele because you wonder how many of her stories turn out to be, true. Or indeed, shall we say, slightly augmented or exaggerated. I mean, the claim is, right, and she's on tour in Australia, where she's selling out, massive
She's in
venues.
Sydney,
very big venues. The claim is that she can't get to the stage without being sort of manhandled or jostled or sort of in some way interfered with by the audience, right?
Yeah.
Now, my understanding of the way that most of these venues work is that you can drive into the backstage area in a car, probably in a limo.
To be honest, these even more than that. Sorry to interrupt you. These days in modern stadiums, you go down into an underground car park. That's like the England bus now gets into Wembley. You go down.
But what I'm saying is any large venue that I've ever been to. Not that we've played terribly big large venues, but you can drive into a secure area.
Of course you can.
Is my point, where there aren't any members of the great unwashed.
Even at Wembley, for what was it called? The big one.
Live Aid.
Live Aid.
Yeah.
I mean, a certain end of Wembley was for the celebs only.
Well, it's like Glastonbury. People helicopter in.
That's right.
They can be brought into a place where there aren't any members of the public.
Yeah.
But their idea that she has to be put into this, effectively, it's a box for equipment.
Well,
and obviously it's quite a large box.
The strangest thing about this is something that doesn't add up. If you close a human being in that box, they've got no oxygen. It also says that
there must be a couple of holes in it, surely.
Well, it also says they put her in this box with a laptop, so where does she get the light from to actually access her laptop? And
well, she doesn't need it. She's got an iPad, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I mean, an iPad.
An iPad doesn't need light.
Well, it certainly does when you first get in the box.
No, it doesn't.
You might drop it and can't find it.
No, you switch. Well, an iPad, you're not going to do. No, you switch the iPad on and it emits its own light.
The reason why I don't think it makes sense is this. Look, they've showed the path onto stage in this box, and it is literally from the player's entrance because it's a sporting stadium.
Right.
Well, you know as well as I do. We've been in enough football stadiums to know that the crowd don't get to the area where the players come onto the pitch.
Right.
So I'm sure her surrounded by half a dozen bodyguards would be. And then she makes a strange thing. She says to the audience, "You won't believe how I got onto this stage tonight. Why do you think I look so sweaty now?" Why would she make herself feel so uncomfortable by locking herself in a box?
So from what you're saying,
to be wheeled onto the stage.
So it's a bit of a stunt, in other words.
Well, I have to say that I think it's a little bit extraordinary. Because, I mean, if you... Look, I'm sure she gets a lot of adulation, OK?
She does.
But if you remember the way that the fans greeted the Beatles on their tour of America, remember Shea Stadium, the famous pictures...
Well, I remember seeing the pictures of it,
Exactly, the famous pictures of the Beatles coming out, Candlestick Park, Shea Stadium, where they literally had to walk, like, hundreds of yards, from the dressing rooms.
But those were the days before, these things are now commonplace. When the Beatles did Shea Stadium and Candlestick Park, nobody had really done that before.
No, that was Beatlemania. That's where it started. But what I'm saying is the security for stars is much more sophisticated these days than it was then.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you have thought if the Beatles didn't get mobbed and attacked with a few barriers between them and hundreds of thousands of people, that Adele would be safe?
Well, I'm
not knocking her. I'm not
knocking her either.
No.
But as I say, I'm slightly concerned at this kind of image she's portraying as the girl next door. every time you see her, she talks about, oh, yeah, well, last night I was doing the dishes and I was thinking about this. And,
that's right.
I just had some Chinese delivered. And, she's worth an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that she pretends to live an ordinary life as if she lives above a chip shop somewhere in Tottenham.
Yes.
It's not really going to cut it anymore, is it?
It's not. A source says, quote, Adele sits in the box for several minutes as she is taken from a dressing room. Most of the fans presume it's a piece of kit just being wheeled past.
Right.
A few have worked out that it could be her inside the box because her personal security officer, Peter van der Veen, accompanies the box. Her team shield her from view as she climbs out and she goes to wait underneath the stage for the start of her show. The other thing that we saw was some images of her on the stage with this huge, what looks like a huge sort of pop gun.
Yes.
You know when your kids used to have these plastic tubes which fired ping pong balls out of them?
Yes.
Remember that? Yeah, it's one of those.
I do remember that,
It looks like a huge one of those, and what she's firing out of them, free T-shirts rolled up into, like, balls.
Yeah.
But also
money, right?
Australian dollars.
Yeah.
She's firing them into the crowd, Australian $20 bills.
Right.
Very extraordinary.
Well, as Sarah Jane Mead said, no wonder it's so expensive to get a ticket for one of her concerts. She's giving away money.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It seems a very, very strange thing to do.
Very strange indeed.
Yeah, absolutely
Now,
right.
there's so many emails coming in, and no, not emails, are there? Tweets, so we should read a few out, really.
Well, we have been reading quite a lot of them out. Would you like to read some out?
It says, while walking the dog, word occurred to me regarding Mike Porky Parry being a narcissist.
Yes.
He's grandly bigging himself up all the time. That's a terrible accusation.
Well, it's not really, because one of the things that has happened over the course of the last, say, month or so, as people have studied Donald Trump, President Trump, as he's now known, is that you and he have an awful lot in common, and you and he come out with very much a similar kind of thing.
What?
What?
What do you mean? What do we come out with?
Well, when you say you live in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, except you don't say that when you're on Sky.
Well,
this kind of thing Trump would say.
I don't think
so.
I
live in this great, beautiful, beautiful place.
Yes, yes.
When you launch the Porky Scratchings, they have to be the best Porky Scratchings anybody's ever tasted.
Well, I wouldn't go into the project unless they were.
When you wear a watch, it's the greatest watch anybody's ever seen.
I don't say that.
Well, you do.
I don't say that. I thought your impersonation of the president was very good, actually, very funny. The Whitest House.
Well, you can
but
go to
don't
our.
Start applying that sort of narcissism to me.
Well, you can go to our website, of course, the2mics.co.uk, and have a look at it.
You can, yeah.
We might try and put the Sky thing on there as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. I think we should. Now,
and then how about this from William? How can Porky even think of doubting old MG's word on giving up smoking?
Smoking, I can. Don't worry.
In a clandestine way is not MG style, which is true.
Yeah.
Why would I hide away and do something which I've been doing for 40 odd years?
Well,
perfectly out in the open.
I'm not sure about that, mate. I'm not sure it's out in the open at all.
What do you mean it's not out in the open? I've been smoking openly for 40 years.
Yes, I know, but you go walking off with your dog into the wilderness. You told me that, and
no, it's not the wilderness. We walk on the beach. We walk in the woods.
Beaches are big places.
When was the last time you walked on a beach?
Last time I walked on a beach would have been about 10 days ago on the Solent.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Which beach is that?
Well, it's called the Solent. I have regular access to beaches.
Well, the Solent is the body of water.
Yes, that's right. Well,
so what's the beach called?
They have pebble beaches on the Solent.
No, I know there are pebble beaches on the Solent, but they must have a name for it.
Lee on the Solent.
Lee on the Solent.
That's
the name of the beach.
It's Lee on Solent.
Lee on Solent.
And Stokes Bay Beach, okay?
Well, that's what I asked you for.
Yeah, all right. Well, I've told you now.
Why is it taking so long to come up with it?
Well, you only asked me because you were trying to catch me out again.
No, I just want to know where you were.
You're trying to be extra smart when you're on the radio with me because you think you've got some sort of superior knowledge.
No, I have got superior knowledge. I have got superior knowledge to most of what you come out with, because most of what you come out with is a load of rubbish.
You have to get up early, mate, because you're dealing with a man who is smarter than the average bear.
Yeah, the trouble is with you tell so many untruths that you sometimes forget where you say you've been.
How dare you?
It's absolutely right. Now, coming up, Tim Vickery's going to be joining us shortly. Postman Paul, we're going to film it live right here on Facebook. And, of course, Heroes and Villains. This is TalkSport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on TalkSport and Talk Radio.
I was walking down the street one day. When I looked up, I saw a friend. Hey, Frankie, do you remember me? You looked at me, and then I blushed, 'cause I remembered I loved you so much way back when. We were friends, going together, but then you left me, Frankie.
I see, I rather like this one.
Who's that? Is that
Sister Sledge.
That's Sister Sledge, is it? Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad.
This is their only number one, you know.
Is that number one, was it? Yeah.
In this country.
I still think Lost in Music was the best one.
Frankie.
Yeah, he's the greatest dancer. That was quite good.
Yeah, well, don't worry about you singing it. I'd rather listen to them singing
That was part of my disco routine as well.
So you don't remember this one, though?
Yeah, Frankie. I do. Yeah, I do. I didn't actually know it was them, actually, but I do remember the song. Yes, yes, of course I do. Yes,
it's rather good, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather good.
Right, now... what am I going to tell you about? You're going to tell me about...
Well, you said you were going to talk to me more about these horses.
No, I've talked about the horses.
Is that the horses done and dusted now?
Oh, yeah, don't talk
well,
about...
no, hang on, I've got a couple of questions about the horses.
Go on, then.
Does it mean that we're no longer going to see police horses again when we go out to football matches?
Not immediately, but that's the long-term worry, that the budgets of the police forces, the 12 out of the 45 who employ horses, they you see, I always think these things are terribly political. I think if policemen... decided to look at their budget, senior policemen, and said, well, we can't afford to have so many officers now working on things like burgeoning hate crime, because I'm not sure there is burgeoning hate crime. I think it might be some new...
well, there is burgeoning hate crime because there didn't used to be a crime called hate crime.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's now burgeoning.
I think in a lot of cases, I think hate crime is the invention of a new crime that never existed before.
Yes.
And it's sometimes somebody expressing an opinion about something to somebody else.
Yes.
Which used to be called freedom of expression and free speech, but now apparently it's a hate crime.
Well, true.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose that's a slightly simplistic notion of
I
how
suppose
it
is,
has happened, but there's certainly no doubt that some of the people who have been called victims of hate crime have not actually been victims of anything.
No, exactly. That's what I mean. And go back to reassessing your budgets, please, and put more money into the mounted division, because it is absolutely vital. I'll tell you what I always notice. Whenever I see a pair of police horses outside Goodison Park...
Yeah.
Or a pair of police horses. Where did we see them last?
Outside of Wembley.
Outside of Wembley, that's right. It's always a man and a woman. There's always
I've not really noticed that.
Yeah, there's always a man rider and a woman rider.
See, I'm always looking at the horses.
Next to each other. Well,
Why are you looking at who's on them?
Because I like to look at the facial expressions of the people riding the horses to see...
Are they wearing visors as well?
Yeah, they are, actually,
How can you see their faces, then?
You can see them through the clear visors. If the visors weren't clear, they wouldn't be able to see where they were going on their horse.
No,
and
that's not true, actually.
Might crash into something.
That's not true.
You can't just say to your horse, hey, horse,
shouting.
Take me up Wembley Way, if your visor isn't
No,
clear.
but what about... have you never seen a crash helmet on a motorcyclist?
Yes.
How often have you seen the black front side of the crash helmet visor, which you can't see through?
Yes, I've seen that.
And how often have you known that would mean that it's impossible for them to see where they're going?
No. It is completely different for a mounted policeman and policewoman on a horse. They have to have peripheral vision. A motorcyclist only has to see straight in front of him in the road ahead.
You're changing the subject now. You're making out that you didn't make this massive blunder about the difference between shaded glass on the outside, which you can see through from the other side, which is not shaded.
You know that I found coup stark, don't you, by instructing a photographer.
You say you did.
By instructing a photographer
I've never seen
to take a massive flash picture through the black Visa Perspex helmet of a small person getting off the back of a motorbike.
Yes.
And when we got the film back to the Daily Express office and we fixed and dev'd it, which is what you had to do in those days.
Yeah.
It
Devon
came up.
Fix, actually.
Yeah, Devon fixed it, and it came up as coup stark. And it was her face.
Yeah, well, that's all very well. My point is...
So I know exactly about the fact that light can go through the dark helmets.
Well, then you should understand...
Stop talking garbage.
You should understand, then, that if the police officer's visor, or visa, as you call it, is actually dark on the outside, it doesn't mean they can't see through it.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you now that you don't seem to be able to appreciate the true value of horses as a tool for the police in this country.
There's plenty of tools around here.
Now,
what about this story? You're going to like this one, right?
Go on.
Headline says, drunken GP struck off after a stiletto attack on police outside a pub.
Well, he shouldn't be doing that. Is that a woman, doctor?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah,
Eva Spate is her name. She's 54. Stamped on the officers as they tried to arrest her outside a pub.
It's a terrible story. Where was this?
Buckinghamshire.
Used to be a nice county.
She was ranting and raving. Don't you know I'm an effing GP, she said, as they were trying to control her.
Yeah. They probably said, well, not really, because GPs don't usually act like this. But anyway, there you are.
Apparently, a medical tribunal let her off with a 6-month suspension, right? On the grounds that it happened during her private life, and doctors should be able to let off steam.
Really? Yeah.
I don't think that's really quite appropriate.
And club a policeman in the head with stiletto heels. Yeah, that's very good, isn't it?
She's Australian, apparently. Sorry, Austrian. I beg your pardon.
Okay, come on.
She's now living in Vienna.
Sandra's an Australian. She comes on this show. She doesn't go around clubbering people with her stiletto heels. Now then, this is all very well. Now, I told you, didn't I, just before the last break, about...
last break?
Yeah,
Ooh.
vlogging.
Vlogging, yes.
Vlogging.
Yes,
now,
you said that the well-to-do parents are now telling their kids to learn how to vlog rather than how to learn to play the violin.
These well-to-do parents have come across people like Zoella, right?
Zoella?
Yeah, Zoella
Who's she?
She's a young lady. Has 11 million subscribers.
Oh.
She's one of the stars of the YouTube generation, and she is a vlogger who makes millions out of literally just telling other young ladies how to put their makeup on, what to wear when they're going out one night, how to deal with friends who are getting stroppy with you, all this kind of stuff, you know?
Right.
So so now there are vlogging classes.
You see, that's ridiculous, isn't it? Because that's like saying to somebody...
Get rich quick.
No, it's not just that, but it's like saying you're going to take up tennis because Maria Sharapova makes a lot of money.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be Maria Sharapova, are you?
Well, who knows?
Right.
It says, now cashing in on the indefatigable...
That's George Galloway's
That was
word.
George Galloway's expression to Saddam Hussein.
Your indefatigability.
That's right, yeah. It's salute your indefatigability.
You whose name I do not know.
That's right, yeah. So it says, now cashing in on the indefatigable desire of middle-class parents to put their children ahead of the pack, one company has set up the Tubers Academy, a school for...
Tubers?
Yeah, Tubers, T-U-B-E-R-S, yeah. Tubers,
As in YouTuber.
Yeah, YouTuber. The Tubers Academy, a school for aspiring vloggers who will be the stars of the future, right? And many parents are telling the teachers at schools, I don't want my child to do ballet, choir, karate, anything else which is extra-curricular stuff.
See,
I want my
shocking.
child to be to be enrolled in the vlogger class. Launched last month, the classes are £79 a month for just 2 hours training a week, and are so oversubscribed that there's already a waiting list of between 125 and 150 children. 42 tubers aged from 11.
Yeah.
So the parents start them at this 11, right? And mini tubers who are under 11 are already learning the tricks of the trade. Students are hoping to follow in the footsteps of what Nick Ellison and Jim Rowe, they're the founders of the Tubers Academy, describe as a generation of superstar YouTube vloggers such as Zoella, who has 11.6 million followers, and Dan TDM, who is a video gaming expert who has 14.5 million followers.
Well, I mean, these guys are incredibly successful, the men and the women that do it. But there are also, for all of those who are successful, probably several thousand who are not successful.
I would imagine so.
And it's very difficult to work out why some of them are better than others in terms of why some of them are more popular. I mean, my kids watch some of this stuff.
Right.
And I've tried to look at it with them.
Yeah.
And it completely baffles me, but I suppose it should, because I'm their parent, and I'm not supposed to get what they get.
Well, it says the vloggers these days, right, when these kids are logging into their laptops to look at them, are the equivalent of what you and I would have seen in a rock star when we were their age, okay?
Yeah.
It says
it's the equivalent of your dad coming in and going, what's this rubbish you're listening to?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. The YouTubers are their stars, just like we used to look up to rock stars, says Mr. Ellison, who's one of the founders of this particular venture.
Yeah.
He said, kids nowadays don't watch television. Is that true?
That is true, actually.
Right, okay.
I mean, they watch television for different reasons, for example. I mean, my kids will watch stuff that's on Netflix.
Yes, that's right,
But they very rarely watch many programmes.
They really switch it on. So what's on BBC tonight?
You just don't bother.
No, exactly.
Mind you, I don't really do that either.
No, I don't either. Kids nowadays don't watch television, they watch YouTube, and it's totally natural for them to do that. YouTube is far more accessible, and now they can create all their own content that others can watch.
Yeah.
However, the trend is not without its critics. Now, Peter Tate, an advisor for the William Clarence, the educational consultancy, who is a former headmaster of Sherborne, which, of course, is one of the
down in Dorset,
leading prep schools in this country, has warned against the growing desire of parents to promote their children. He said, focusing on X-Factor type frames was encouraging children to become more selfish and individualistic, and argued it could lead to the soulless existence of young people who bring no real culture into their life.
Soulless?
Yeah.
Well, it's creative up to a point, I suppose, if they're making videos and doing stuff like that. But I mean, it was ever thus. But I feel bad if parents are now just telling kids to do something which they think is going to lead to them making loads of money. Because there's more to life than making money.
I've come across a lot of young people over the last couple of years, in various guises, friends of my nephew and nieces and all that kind of stuff, who honestly believe that the way to success can be instantly inventing a video game, instantly inventing
Which it can be.
some website.
But you've got very little chance of that happening to you individually.
Exactly, yeah.
You know.
No, I totally agree.
Very strange.
No, seriously, the idea of going to university for, say, 4 years, to start becoming a dentist or a doctor or something like that is anathema to some modern-day youngsters who just think, what a waste of time.
I know, absolutely right. And also they think they're going to come out with a load of debts, which they'll never pay off.
Yes.
Because that's been the propaganda they've been fed.
Indeed.
Anyway, good time not to be that young, I would say, perhaps. Anyway, lots more coming up, including Tim Vickery. He's got a tale for us about a convicted murderer who's now playing in goal for a team in Brazil. This is TalkSport.
Great.
Take me on a roller coaster. Take me for an airplane ride. Take me for a 6-day wonder. But don't you pull my pride side to side. What's real and made to be? Baby James and Acapulco, we are flying down to Rio.
That music can mean only one thing. It is, of course, Mr. Tim Vickery, arriving very, very sharpish from Brazil, from Rio de Janeiro, with a bunch of stories for us from that part of the world. Tim, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Yeah, it probably means another thing as well, that the studio manager has cloth ears, but that's another story. How are you doing this morning?
We're very well. I mean, I'm sorry to say that you are now more closely associated with that song than anybody else in the world. So, I mean, we are a global sports radio station. I think whenever anybody hears it now, they don't think of Brian Ferry, they think of you.
Yeah, if they could only think of me with Brian Ferry's bank balance, then everything would be right with the world, wouldn't it?
That's true.
Indeed it would.
Absolutely true. Now, you've got a fascinating story to kick us off with about Bruno, the convicted murderer. This is one of those sort of...
very strange.
Only in Brazil type stories,
Isn't it just? And this is a plot, honestly, straight out of a soap opera. I'm going to take you back to 2010. Bruno, goalkeeper for Flamengo here in Rio. It's Brazil's most popular club, and he's a very good goalkeeper. Perhaps at that time in line for a call-up for the national team. While the World Cup is happening in South Africa that year, his ex-girlfriend, Elisa Samudio, is pregnant with his child.
Right.
And while the season breaks for the World Cup, she, it seems, is kidnapped, brutally murdered, and her body fed to dogs. So her bodily remains have never been recovered.
Oh.
But that's what the court decided.
Were they Rottweiler dogs?
Well, I think so, yes. Dogs that this is the allegation that dogs were specially bred for exactly this purpose.
Good God.
Now, Bruno and his entourage, a lot of Brazilian high-profile players, they have an entourage of people who kind of fix day-to-day things for them. They all went down for it. Bruno himself was given a prison term of 22 years and 3 months. Now, he served 7 years of that sentence, and now he comes out on appeal. I think the basis of the appeal is, what is his complicity in the assassination? Did he really want it to happen? Might it have been one of those kind of Thomas à Becket type situations where, he said, who will rid me of this infernal woman? And people in his entourage went too far. That I believe is the basis of his appeal. But anyway, he is out. He remains a convicted murderer. He has been found guilty in the first instance. The second judgment by a higher level of judge will happen. In the meantime, he's fixed himself up with a club. The club's name is Boa. They're from the state of Minas Gerais. Last year in Brazil, they won the 3rd division. So this year, they will be taking part in the 2nd division. Bruno has just turned 33. There is no real knowing after so long out of the game whether he'll still be good enough to play at a kind of professional level.
And would he command more money than most of the players there, or is he not sort of looking for that?
I'm not sure he is. And the point here is, legally, he is 100% within his rights, while he's out on appeal, to continue with his profession. Morally, well, that may be a different story. The club, this all happened very, very quickly, the club signing him. The club's sponsors were not aware of it. On Sunday, a group of hackers hacked into the club's site, the club's website, and they left messages putting pressure on the club's sponsors to sever their association with the club in protest at this signing. 5 of those sponsors have subsequently done so. So the club is losing sponsors. The club is still saying, no, it's going to stand by Bruno because legally he's within his rights. And coming up Tuesday in Brazil, we're still really Monday night at the moment, but Tuesday in Brazil will be the first day when he reports for training. Now, goalkeepers, obviously, they're usually closer to the supporters, aren't they? And he is going to listen to a lot of things. His agent is saying that he's prepared for all of the abuse that people are going to throw at him. And I don't know what you make of this, gentlemen. If you think that...
Well, is the appeal process over, sorry, or is it...
No, it's only just started. I mean, the Brazilian legal... I find all legal systems a little bit baffling. But the Brazilian legal system especially, and the Brazilian legal system, and for anyone who's been following the anti-corruption inquiry that's been going on here, it can be very, very hard on suspects, but very, very soft on the convicted. Basically because if you've got money... You can always, there's always seems to be another appeal, and you can get out and appeal and appeal and appeal. And about 20 years ago now, there was a very high-profile footballer, a Brazil international striker called Edmundo, who was always in the news for one thing and another, and he was found responsible for causing people's deaths in a car crash where he was driving under the influence of alcohol. And I think he only served something like 2 nights. You know, he was in and then he got out on an appeal and, you know, he was allowed to continue with his career. He had to put up with a lot from rival supporters. Now, obviously, this crime that Bruno has convicted of committing is one of a much more premeditated brutality than causing people's deaths through drink driving. But still... there is some basis of comparison that can be made. And given that he is legally within his rights, and if this was another profession, it probably wouldn't attract any attention. What do you gentlemen think about whether he's morally within his rights?
Well, I can tell you something, Tim. We've had this debate, not to this extent. We've had the debate in this country. There was a guy who was a thick as a mince footballer who, you know, had too much money, came out of a pub after drinking, was allegedly also on the Colombian marching powder, gets into a very powerful Mercedes car, roars off, smashes into somebody else's car, that of an old couple, kills one and puts the other in a wheelchair for life, right? Does a few years in jail after running away from the scene, but then, after coming out of jail, resumes a career. And, of course, there's a massive debate then. Should this man morally, who has caused the death of other people, be allowed to pursue his professional football? The legal argument was always a restraint of trade if a club wouldn't employ him just because he was unpopular in society.
Yeah, and if it was another profession, it wouldn't raise so many eyebrows, would it? So if that's what you do for a living...
I'm not sure if that's true, though, because it really depends on the nature of the crime, doesn't it? And, I mean, obviously, with this guy having an appeal process going on, you know, in the real world, you'd say, OK, well, until the appeal fails, then you may consider him to be innocent, even if he's been convicted. But the thing is, if you commit, you know, a serious crime, there are lots of jobs that you can't do. You know, you could not work, for example, in the police force. You couldn't probably work as a doctor. You couldn't work...
Well, we've got a guy in this country out on bail on appeal for a sex offence, haven't we, as a footballer?
Yes.
And there's a terrific amount of controversy about whether you know, a club should take him on or not.
Equally, if you had been convicted of a sexual offence, there are many jobs you wouldn't be hired to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't be able to work with children. You wouldn't be allowed to work in a school.
Well, unless you sued for restraint of trade, because the position is that I think this is going to a retrial, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can't sue for restraint of trade. Yeah, it is. But you can't sue for restraint of trade if, in the real world, for example, you know, if you're a sex offender, you're therefore on a list of sex offenders.
Yeah, but this guy is going for retrial.
Yes.
On whether or not he is or not.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Yeah. But what my point is that, you know, when Tim says if it was another profession, it wouldn't be under so much scrutiny. I'm not sure that's true, I guess is my point.
Perhaps. And there is one thing about footballers. You know, they earn money because really the footballer, he is a representative of so many other people, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which I suppose does put it into a different category.
Yeah, and people say it's a special case because they get paid so much money and they have a duty of care. And
well, he's also calling for loyalty and support from a body of people who happen to be the supporters of that club, isn't it? And they have to make their own mind up with their own moral dilemma as to whether they can, you know, apply their loyalty to a man who is accused of horrible things.
Sure, indeed. Let's talk about the Copa Libertadores, which is first week of America's sort of Champions League proper. What's going on?
Yeah, we had our first week last week, and isn't it nice to have a happy story about Chapecoense? You know, the club who at the end of November, long plane ride up to Medellin in Colombia. That plane obviously crashed on the approach. They were going towards the final of the equivalent of the Europa League. Their opponents in the final that didn't happen, Atlético Nacional of Colombia, were absolutely magnificent and insisted that Chapecoense, little club from a small town in Brazil, insisted that they be awarded with the trophy. As winners of that trophy, they then qualify. This is their first campaign in the Libertadores, which is the Champions League equivalent. And as destiny would have it, their opening game meant another long flight north up to Maracaibo in Venezuela.
Goodness.
Point to point, door to door, a 30-hour journey. South America is huge.
Yeah, bound to be.
That must have been quite a poignant place to be on that plane, mustn't it?
Indeed, yeah. And Chapecoense, obviously, it's a different coaching staff and a different playing staff. 2 players who survived. There were 3 players who survived in all. One has had part of his leg amputated. The other 2, it is hoped that they will make full recoveries. They have been named in the squad for the Libertadores, but at the moment that is much more symbolic than anything else. So anyway, this hastily arranged squad made this long journey up to Venezuela, difficult venue, Maracaibo, because it's very hot. The pitch is very bumpy, and the wind just blows straight down the pitch from one end of the pitch to the other. So it's a difficult venue. They're up against a team called Zulia, who are not bad. They've got some interesting players, and Chapecoense, which I think is a magnificent achievement. They came back with a 2-1 win. Now you imagine that entire squad has been put together in just a couple of months, and there they are at the end of a 30-hour journey, coming back with 3 points. On an almost like banal note about them, some of their domestic results haven't been particularly good. Doesn't matter that much because we're only playing regional championships. But some of the fans in the stadium have been booing them. Now, you might think that's harsh. That's a little bit harsh. But you can look at this in another light. What Brazilian fans tend to do when results are disappointing is boo their team. So if they're booing Chapecoense, it's almost like normality has returned.
Sure.
And there's something to be savoured in that, I think.
There is.
I doubt there'll be any booing on Thursday. Thursday night is their home debut in the Libertadores. They're up against an interesting team called Lanús from Argentina. And I think that really is a moment for celebration. That stadium played host to a wake at the start of December when the bodies came back from Colombia. It'll be great to have the attention of the continent on that stadium for a football game that should be, win, lose or draw, should be an absolute celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, just a little one, please, Tim. The Champions League back tonight, and there's an Argentinian coach who may be the man that stands between Leicester and the quarterfinals.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. Little Jorge Sampaoli, an Argentine who's in charge of Sevilla. He was banned from the touchline for the first leg, so he was up in the stands. He was kicking away at the little glass seat that was in front of him. He will be a major attraction, I think, later on tonight in his first leg. He, on his team, you can't take your eyes off them, although there is just a fear that they might run out of steam. It's very, very intense. The style of play that he likes, but he will wander up and down his technical area like a little bald dog that's working on batteries, and he will wail away at the referee and wail away at anyone in his earshot. You can't take your eyes off him. You can't take your eyes off his team. Enjoy the show tonight.
We will. Tim, thank you very much indeed. Tim Vickery there reporting in from Brazil. And, of course, the Champions League tonight, Leicester taking on Seville. They've got an away goal. Could they get through to the quarterfinals? My prediction of some weeks ago was that Millwall would knock them out of the FA Cup, Sevilla would knock them out of the Champions League, and they would get relegated. They may have turned that around, of course, now. We shall see. Lots more to come, including Postman Pork at the top of the hour. This is TalkSport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on TalkSport and Talk Radio.
Everybody, let me tell you about my love brought to you by an angel from above, fully equipped with a lifetime guarantee. Once you try it, I am sure that you'll see. There's no reason to live without you.
You've turned this into a sort of sister sledge fest, haven't you?
Well, not really, but I think, they were an astonishingly impactful group of girls.
See, I don't agree, really. I mean, I know that you like them, and I know that they were, they had one number one hit. They did write a lot of songs. I mean, that one, for example, Thinking of You, I don't think I've ever heard that.
No, I think it was terrific. I still wait to hear Lost in Music, which I keep trying to tell people round here. Well, it's my favourite Sister Ledge song, but for some known reason...
Sister Ledge?
Sister Sledge, but, for some unknown reason, people aren't getting the message.
Well, they're trying to play stuff other than their greatest hits, you see.
Oh, really?
Have you got their greatest hits?
No.
Why not?
They were never that sort of great for me. They were great in a disco.
Hang on, you've been raving on about them for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, when I was on the disco floor, I did, yeah. When I was on the disco floor, I would, yeah, absolutely no problem. In fact, funnily enough, I said to you, my Birmingham days and all that. Now, I've come across, because I have...
Birmingham days?
Yeah,
what, you think, like you like the sort of, just like the blue period, like Picasso?
It was my Birmingham
period.
Yeah, my Birmingham era, yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, of course, I do subscribe to a lot of property journals, because I believe that investing in...
Hey, by the way,
yeah.
Did you not tell me that you went to look at a property down on the south coast at the weekend?
Yes.
Well, tell us about it.
Oh, it was something and nothing. Something and nothing.
No, it wasn't something and nothing.
Well...
Didn't it have a rather interesting feature?
Well, I had an unfortunate experience, actually, and this is the only reason why you've raised it, and I told you this in confidence. I mean...
Well, I think you should share it.
Well, I go... I went to see a
This was on the same day you went to the medieval fort.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Well, yeah, it was. No, it was the morning after, actually.
Right, okay.
Go to the medieval fort, right, and can't land the boat.
Yeah.
So, the guy driving the tender that we went out on had to turn around and come back with all the Louis Vuitton bags on it, right? But anyway, so obviously you get drenched in seawater on these boats, because it's
do you?
In fact, the funny thing is, when we were talking about Paul Breen Turner and you living on a boat, and you said, I don't know how you can do that because you're always wet.
You're always
damp, always wet when you're on a boat.
Yeah, it's true.
The sea spray is just with you all the time.
And even if it's actually not raining,
exactly.
At some point or other, there's always you're surrounded by moisture.
I know. Just going out of the Portsmouth Harbour before it got rough, you're aware of a spray in the air.
Yeah.
It's thrown up by the boat, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, point of the story is, of course, I got home that night and you get showered and all that, and you get rid of all the seawater in your hair and all that.
Yes.
So next morning, I'm coming back to London, and on the way, I stopped at a property that I'd spotted, which I went to have a look at as a potential investment.
What, you mean something that you could rent to some poor, unsuspecting collection of students?
Maybe I'd want to live there myself or something like that.
Are you thinking of moving?
Well, I'm not necessarily. But anyway, so I go in, and you go in at a sort of ground level, you see. And it's very nice, and there's a balcony up here. Look at that, look over the sea to the Isle of Wight. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then he said, and of course, this is not just a balcony. I have a terrace downstairs.
Right.
So when you're entertaining your friends, you're actually at sea level.
So is this sort of actually Gosport, Portsmouth? Where is it, roughly?
It's more Leon Solomon.
Oh, so Leon Solomon.
Yeah, on the curve of the sort of bay.
Yeah.
And he said, come down and see it. I go down and see it, and I thought it was very good. And all of a sudden, I'm not joking, it was like being smashed in the face by an unknown assailant. He said it was a freak wave, a rogue wave, broke over the...
Right. Well, how far away is the sea at this point? I mean, you
about
sort of
2 feet down.
Oh, so it's quite close.
Yeah.
I would be very wary of buying a place that close to the sea.
Well, anyway, but it's only the lower level, and that's it. It's only down to the terrace.
Right.
The property.
Could you tie a boat up to it or something?
Yeah, you could. But the sea would be too rough to run. But the actual property itself is a good 12 feet high.
Oh, okay.
You see what I mean?
Right.
But no, you get down there by a set of steps. You say, look, this unique.
So it's a place you would have a table and chairs.
Exactly. A unique feature, and bang, it smashed me in the face and knocked me against the glass.
And what about the guy? Was he down there as well?
Well, he was laughing. He was on the stairs. He said, I forgot to tell you about that. This happens occasionally,
He did it deliberately, did he?
Well, he unless he has mastery over the sea, he couldn't have done it deliberately.
Well, he might be counting the waves.
But
in Papillon.
Smashed in. Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
Count every seventh wave.
That's right, when you threw the bag of coconuts down to jump onto.
When they jumped in.
That's right,
when they jumped in, they count the seventh
But anyway, look, I'll tell you about property. It's very, very interesting. What did I say to you? I said there are some interesting places to go. Now, my property journal here I'm looking at, it says the 20 coolest places now to live in Britain, okay? I would say half of these that I've looked at were like the biggest slums I've ever come across when I've been there.
Right.
For instance, Ancoats, Manchester. Now, I worked at the Daily Express.
That's where it was, wasn't it? In
Great
Ancoats.
Ancoats Street.
Great
It was
Ancoats
the most famous building in Ancoats, the
Yeah.
Great Ancoats Street, Black Lubianca of the Daily Express,
Right.
which is still there.
Right.
And other media businesses
Have
now
they
use
turned it into? They've not turned it into flats or anything.
No, it's still a media business, and I think they've still got as a decoration one of the old presses on the ground floor where they used to be. You know,
Okay.
but I mean, we used to come out of there, and the local pubs were pitiful.
Yes.
They were falling to bits. They were crumbling. There was one across the road called the Lamb and Garter or something.
Lamb and Flag.
Something like that. It was something like
There's
that.
a Lamb and Flag somewhere. I think maybe it's in Covent Garden.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't Lamb and Flag. It was the Lamb and something. But anyway, the point is, this pub was such a dive.
Yeah.
We used to drink in there, and then when we got completely bladderated at 2 a.m, you could literally rent a room upstairs for £1.
Right.
Because you're actually in a room full of other drunks, and you just sort of slumped on like a bunk.
My father used to tell me a story of when he was in the States travelling around, and they used to have these places, these hostels, which were more or less homeless hostels.
Yes.
Where they'd just erect a piece of rope.
And you're lying
across
there.
the room, and you just lie, you sort of slump over the rope.
Slump over the rope,
Because there wasn't enough bed space.
Well, it was almost like that, but I mean, Ancoats was dreadful.
But isn't that like a lot of places? I mean, similarly in Glasgow,
Yeah.
Anderson Quay, where the Daily Record's new offices
That's
were.
right.
For a long time there was a couple of pubs there that were just horrendous, right?
Yeah.
But then, because it was on the water, and it was, more and more flats were going up, it became gentrified. It became quite a nice place to be.
This is unbelievable. It says Ancoats, home to some of the largest mills in Manchester, became dilapidated when the cotton industry declined. But it's now been revived by professionals seeking a cheaper place to live, drink and dance. But I mean, as I go round it, Liverpool, the Baltic Triangle, the North Docks.
Yeah.
Liverpool arts and party scene is thriving. But again, it used to be run down.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, isn't it?
East 20 in London is now the coolest address, E20.
Well, that's like Hoxton, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
St Paul's, Bristol. I covered riots there where people were throwing petrol bombs at each other.
Well, that's what makes it cool.
It's unbelievable. West End Glasgow. I thought West End Glasgow was always actually quite good.
West End always has been
Thought it was
cool,
the East End that was
but it's still cool. That is exactly right.
And then, I told you about my Birmingham days.
Yeah.
Right? The coolest place in Birmingham, the Gun Quarter.
Okay.
Does that remind you of Peaky Blinders?
Not
Young
really.
professionals who moved in their droves from London to the Jewellery Quarter have now gone to the Gun Quarter.
Okay. All right. Well, you need to go to the Gun Quarter for a bit because otherwise we'll be very late. This is Talk Sport.
Yes.
Hello, this is Tim Vine on Talk Sport. It's Mike Parry's postbag. I can't wait to see what's in there.
Postman pork, I eat my chips with just a fork, 'cause then I can still talk.
Despite our absence of a week,
Yes.
they're still playing that same terrible jingle, I see.
What do you mean terrible? There's
It's
nothing
awful.
terrible with that.
It's awful.
Rubbish. I get loads and loads of communications from people who say they really love that
Really?
opener to this particular feature. It's the best on the whole of the dial.
Is that right?
Right, let's get on with it, shall we?
Which dial is that?
Okay, Postman Pork here. It says Postman Pork at the 2 Mics, Talksport, Hatfields, London.
Yeah.
Just 18 Hatfield. Just reminding the address is Talksport Tower, Postman Pork, Talksport Towers.
You've just said all that.
18 Hatfields, London, SE1
Yeah.
8DJ. Let's open this
Right.
first one
Okay,
here.
then.
Thank you very much indeed.
Where's
This
it from? Anything from
it's,
Alice this week?
eh?
Anything from Alice this week?
Nothing from Alice, no. And in fact, you forgot to put the SE1 on this one. You forgot to put the postcode on at all. So you're lucky it got
So
it.
this has come from someone who didn't put a postcode on it.
Didn't put a postcode on it, so we've got to say thank you very much indeed to the local post office people who are clearly on top of the job.
Oh, yeah.
Right, Dear Sir Porky, that's the sort of letter I like, okay?
Yeah.
It says, as a fan of Rooney Tunes, I can't believe the stick you're getting on the programme for your best-selling biography. Who else could have come up with the formula? And then he goes on to tell me about the formula for...
What formula?
Well, Rooney's brain works faster than Einstein's, and the formula that I had to put together mathematically to convince people that he's right than Einstein.
Well, is there actually an equation he's put down?
Oh, there's an equation. It's y equals v/u x minus g/2u times 2 FDE CDP AV2/2 and ym plus AKYV1 plus BY1 plus CY
rubbish.
equals G.
Really?
And that's the, as you did in the book,
Thanks
to
for
describe
clearing that up.
how Rooney gets into the box to score from a cross. Try translating that in Mandarin Chinese. As a footballing guru, who do you think is to blame for the Leicester City debacle? Well, we're not talking about that tonight, but this is a letter from
Who's
Roy.
written it?
Roy from Croydon.
Not Roy Dracula.
It could be, but it's Roy from Croydon anyway.
Right.
And thing is, Roy, I think you have written before, so you should know. It is SE18DJ.
Maybe he was just in a hurry or something.
That's right. Let's open this next one here. Oh, there's one here indeed, and it says this is to do with my ducks. So thank you very much indeed, because I do like people to be aware of the fact that I am the patron of a duck conservancy.
What's the name of the Duck Conservancy?
It's just called the Duck Conservancy.
The Duck Conservancy.
The Duck Conservancy,
I mean,
yeah.
in case people want to, offer some kind of charitable donation to it.
Yes.
Huh?
What?
Well, what if somebody wants to offer a charitable donation?
I don't like to, sort of...
Doesn't exist,
hold
does it?
out the begging bowl. Of course it does.
No, it
It's a
doesn't.
Duck Conservancy. Anyway, here we go. Thank you very much indeed. This is from Lucy.
Oh, yeah.
And it says, Dear Porky, I would like to thank you for looking after Surrey's bird community over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this, a beautiful letter with a beautiful picture of a little duck on the bottom, which is really, really nice.
Oh, it is
Thank
nice.
you. I'd like to thank you for looking after Surrey's bird community over the years. The flying kind, not the ones with red nails and high heels. That's very sexist, and this comes from a lady called Lucy.
Well, that's not allowed, is it?
No.
Can't have sexist ladies.
When I feed the ducks at my local park, I sometimes see an older gentleman balancing a pizza box on his head and often wondered, who is that bearded weirdo? Is it you? No, it's not me. I don't do that. I was only taking the Domino pizzas home that night because I was tired and put them on my head
Other
instead of under my
pizzas are
arms.
available, of course.
Now then, please accept this badge, see enclosed. Let's have a look.
A badge?
A badge.
Wow.
Here we go. So I'll just open the badge.
Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah. Let's open this up. See what's in
What
here.
sort of badge do you think it is? Like a metal
don't know
badge?
until
Like
I open it, do
an
I?
enamel badge?
I know. Here we go. Right, I've opened it. I still can't find a badge. Oh, here it is. It's in here. This is very, very nice. And by the way, beautiful wrapping paper from Lucy. Thank you very much indeed. And then when I get there, a beautiful little duck, bird in hats, enamel pin badge.
It's an enamel badge?
Yeah, it's
See,
a
I told you.
mallard in a straw boater. That is very, very kind of you, Lucy. Thank you very much
You call
indeed.
it Bob.
Eh?
You call it Bob.
What do you mean?
Bob Mallard.
Bob Mallard, yeah. Or you could call it, as it's a mallard in a straw boater, I call it Mass.
What?
Mallard, Mab.
Mass.
Mallard in boater.
Well, I just got it mad after you.
No, Mallard in boater. That's very, very kind.
Mallard
Thank you,
in boater.
And it says duck pin
Mib.
badge for duck pin badge report. It says.
I hope you're going to see you wearing this on your lapel.
Oh, absolutely. It says, please accept this badge as a symbol for your service to ducks.
Yeah.
Mike Parry, DOBE, Duck Order for the British Empire. Illustrator Alice Tams, whom I had the pleasure of meeting a few years ago, designed the pin. Her company is called Birds in Hats. That's very, very nice. Great to see you and Mike at the Sports Bar and Grill in Canary Wharf last month. I enjoyed the website launch and meeting Paul Brian Nemmer. Also, other fans, including Lee, Craig and Ben, thanks for the drink, the Edinburgh Live DVD. Look forward to seeing you both again, hopefully at the convention. Tell Loafface to hurry up and organise it.
Very harsh.
Well, that's really nice. Thank you. So that's that. And my pin badge.
You remember Lucy, don't you?
Of course I remember Lucy, yes. I'm doing very well here. Now, a letter here. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, where this is from.
Where?
Connecticut.
Connecticut? You haven't got a letter from Connecticut.
I've got a letter from Connecticut.
Is it from Mark Donaldson?
Well,
He lives in Connecticut.
Don't know. I'm going to have a look and see it. Open it up. Right, okay.
Well, what does
You've
it
just
say on
been
the
to
front?
Connecticut.
Yeah, I've just been to Connecticut. My mother lives there.
Yeah,
and my sister
says-
lives there.
It's quite.
They're about to get 2 feet of snow.
It's quite formal. It says Mr. Mike Parry.
Yeah.
And then it's got the full address of Talksport Towers.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Postman Porky.
Okay.
So I open this. Let me see what's here. Oh, wow, this is interesting. It's a card.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, it's got a
Is it for
sort of
the one from Alice?
It's got a sort of bird on the front, hasn't it? You're right.
Oh, there's a bird sort of theme, isn't
Yeah,
there?
bird theme here tonight. Excuse me, it says thank you. So
thank
people
you.
from all over the world want to thank me. So I open this and it says, Dear Michael,
Why are you hesitating? That means you're not reading it out.
No,
as
I'm
it's
reading it
being
properly.
said.
Yeah. It says, Michael has showed me so many of your shows.
Oh, yeah.
So I might be referring to you.
What do you mean it might be referring to me?
I think
Well, who's
you...
it from?
I don't know yet. I haven't read it through. Here we go. Sorry, I've started on the wrong bit of the card. Right, so it says, Dear Mike, what a lovely surprise, because I really miss London, and now I have all these sights to look at on the side of the bag you bought me. Thank you so much. Love.
This is from my mother.
This is from your mother.
No way.
Love, Marie. She
No
says,
way.
P.S. Michael has showed me so much of your shows. I think you are terrific. I really
you're terrific.
had a great laugh. And this is from Mrs. Mari Graham.
Yes, my mother.
Your mother.
Right.
Right.
Well, she didn't tell me that she
Okay.
was sending you. Let me
So-
see that.
No.
She did not tell me she was sending you a card.
So the bag, right, that I sent over the
that
Atlantic
crappy bag that you
for
sent.
MG's mum, which he tried to dismiss as a rubbishy £1
Yeah.
from Pound Store, was in fact a very expensive bag from a top store.
Yeah, very expensive.
And And Mike Graham's mother has recognised that by personally sending me a card.
She's just very polite. Let me have a look at that card.
Why?
I want to
it's not written to you.
I want to examine it and make sure that it's a genuine article.
Right, now listen, I've got a box to open here.
Yeah,
so
that is from her. That's her writing.
Okay, yeah.
That is her writing.
Yeah, here we go. Look, I can open this box.
That's pretty good writing for a 93-year-old.
I was going to say it is, yeah.
She's better writing than mine.
Yeah, okay. Right, here we go. Right, I've opened this box here. Something in it. So let's find out.
See, the thing about people of her generation is that they send thank you cards.
They do. Well, I send thank you cards to everybody.
I'm rather proud of her.
I send thank you cards.
You didn't send me one.
What for?
Well, I got you loads of things in the past. You never ever sent me a thank you card.
Right. This, by the way, I should have told you, this box has come all the way from South Korea. Okay?
South Korea?
South Korea. We're big in South Korea, okay?
Wow. You better be careful what's in that one.
Dear Porky, I'm writing from Gangjin in rural South Korea.
Gangjin.
I'm an English teacher, listen to your show every day on the podcast. Sometimes living here can be tough with the lack of English speakers and British culture. Your podcast acts as a nice reprieve from the very different world in which I live.
Oh, yeah.
As a thank you, I've enclosed you a present. It says...
Who's this from?
Johnny Langton.
Right.
He says, keep up the good work. Johnny Langton, Scouser in Korea, okay?
Scouser in Korea?
Yeah, now this is a bit confusing. He says, I've sent you a present, but it is actually for Mike Graham.
Right.
As I have noticed that you receive all the goodies in the Postman Pork Post and he receives nothing.
That's very true.
So I thought he deserved something. Plus, there's absolutely nothing in Korea which would appeal to you, Porky, in the slightest. I know MG likes to cook, so how about trying this very simple but delicious Korean recipe for dak bok e mutang, a spicy braised chicken stew.
Okay.
I've enclosed the most difficult ingredient to find, sunshang red pepper paste.
All right.
The rest is easily obtainable.
All right.
So...
Has he sent the recipe as well?
Yes, I believe he has.
Has he?
So here's the Sanshung pepper paste.
Oh,
That's
wow.
for you.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, right. And
that is very
cool.
and
this is from Johnny Langton, Scouts from Korea, thank you very much. And he has sent the recipe, Dabokki Mutang.
Right.
So I think you're now under obligation to cook this dish.
You're not only, I'll tell you what, not only will I cook it.
I'll take a little video of it.
Yeah, and I'll put it on the website.
Put it on the website, and then we can thank Johnny for that, right? Now then, we've got, look, we've got to get through these. Look, I've got all these here. Look, got these here, got this parcel
here.
This
is great.
I've got this stuff here. I've got these invitations.
Johnny Langton. Well, Johnny, this
here.
is brilliant.
I mean, blimey, you know, we need twice the time for this. I've got this one
Well,
here.
you're not going to get twice the time for it. And in fact, you're right out of time.
Well, I'm going to do just one more.
So much time opening it.
Yeah, just this one here.
Yeah, go on.
In here. Right, this is addressed to
looks very
Postman
spicy,
Pork,
by the way.
Talk Sport, Hatfields, Postman Pork, eh?
It looks very spicy, this chicken
dish.
dish.
I'm sure it is. I wouldn't be able to eat it because I burn my heart. Only 1/3 of my heart works. Right. Dear Porky, please see enclosed 2 working copies of Porky's latest book workings.
Oh, yeah.
The working title seems to be Cook with Mike Porky Parry,
yeah.
and it contains a selection of recipes and food tips from the culinary master, that is Mike Parry. This is from Dave Lee. Kind regards. Dave, thank you very much indeed. Let me take this stuff out.
Dave Lee.
Dave Lee.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Porky Parry, there we go. He's done a little recipe book for me, and I'm on the front there. That's rather nice, isn't it?
It looks ridiculous.
No, it looks great.
We're not doing a cook-off soon.
Yeah, well, I think we are. Cook with Mike Porky Parry, which is lovely. Hi, folks. Welcome to Cook with Mike Porky Parry. Inside the Farm Plus, some great recipes. Here we go. Porky Parry, smash ingredients, smash onions, wall sausages, and basics gravy granules.
Well, isn't that a recipe for a sausage and mash?
It's a recipe for sausage and mash.
There you go.
Quite right, and it's there. Look, a lovely picture of it. Thank you very much indeed.
You can find very similar recipes on our website, by the way.
Yeah, you certainly can.
Sure, he hasn't just nicked them and put them on a piece of paper.
How do you get to our website?
You just put in the 2mics.co.uk.
2mics.co.uk. Right, and here we go. Porky Parry's Choice, the Great British Takeaway, KFC Porky Special, fish fingers, Porky Parry Apartments for rent. That's got to do with recipes. And then the Fish Finger Mountain, which is there and
I thought it was meant to be a pyramid.
Well, he's done the mountain rather than the pyramid. That's why I called it the mountain.
No, it's a square.
Mushy 3 peas, 3 cans, 60 fish fingers, and some basic chips. That is really, really kind. Thank you very much. And in fact, we have 2 here, so I retain one, and I present you with one.
All right, thank you very much.
There you go, for the Porky...
I can use that for the fire
Porky
next weekend.
recipes. What?
I can use it for the fire
next weekend. How dare you. I want to say thank you to all your correspondents. Remember, it's Postman Pork at Talk Sport, 18 Hatfields, London, SE1 8DJ. Please keep those letters, parcels, presents, and everything else coming. They're invaluable to us.
This Korean red sauce is going to be great.
Oh, yes.
That was Postman Pork. More at the same time next week.
Yes. Postman Pork, I eat my chips with just a fork, 'cause then I can still talk.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family.
This is the one everybody else knows, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
of course
probably
it
their
is,
top
yeah.
song. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the scene in Private Benjamin.
Oh, yes.
Which I don't know whether you've seen, which is quite an old film now.
Yeah.
With Goldie Hawn,
Yes.
and they win the sort of the internecine, sort of war games.
Yes.
And they have a party, and they're dancing to this particular song.
Yes,
So it reminds me of that.
yes. I saw that. Who was the actress in it again?
Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn, that's right. And didn't she get drunk and in a fit of pique joined the army or something? And then
Well, she gets divorced.
that's right.
And
yeah.
then, or
yeah.
her husband dies, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
The
something like
night
that,
of the
yeah.
wedding.
Yeah, that's right.
In a
yeah.
rather uncomfortable position.
Yes, that's right.
And then she just runs off and joins the army.
That's right.
Very
yeah.
funny film.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Yeah.
Indeed.
CFC Nigel says there's a horse running for Postman Pork tomorrow into 5:30 at Cheltenham called It's a Freebie.
It's a freebie. Well, what's that going to do with me?
Well, because you're now getting
Excuse
loads
me.
of things sent to you. I've got some free
Well, I've given you all
South
the I've given you
Korean
the freebies
tomato
tonight.
paste,
Should
chili
be,
paste.
Should be damn grateful.
which sounds really, really good.
Yeah, good,
Now,
yeah.
we haven't talked about Cheltenham because a lot of people have asked if we're going to Cheltenham.
Yes.
And the answer, I'm afraid, this year is no.
It's about the first time in 20 years I will have missed Cheltenham, but I'm afraid we've got too much on at the moment.
We have a bit, yeah.
We've got enormous traffic and demand on the website, which
Yeah.
we've got to sort out this week, which
Yeah.
we will.
Okay.
And by the way, can I just say, there have been because of the demand, which we weren't quite expecting, there have been a few blips in the deliveries of things that people have
Yeah.
ordered and bought and all that. I want to
Okay.
say I'm really sorry about that, and we've tried to sort that out, and I've sorted a few things out today which have been late.
Okay.
Missed a birthday, I think, on one occasion, so I'm really sorry about that. But we're trying to make up for all that very quickly indeed.
Okay, well, we
Yeah.
will do our best.
Yes,
Because
indeed.
the website has been kind of expanded into different
Yes,
areas.
it has, yeah,
And
yeah,
there are some
yeah.
recipes on there. In fact, I'm going to knock this South Korean thing out and put
yeah.
it up there as well.
Great.
But we are supposed to be doing a cook-off because we were approached, funnily enough, the day we launched the website
Yes.
by a guy who is associated with a restaurant chain here in London.
Yeah.
And they've got one of these big sort of industrial kitchens.
They certainly have.
Somewhere near Oxford Street. So
Yeah.
in the next couple of weeks, hopefully,
Yeah.
we're going to go there and film you and I cooking.
We certainly are.
What do you think of that?
I think it's a great idea. Now, I want to stay on the subject of food, right?
Oh, yeah.
You once very cruelly, and in fact you've said it several times, accused me of eating children's food just because I like Angel Delight.
Why is it cruel? It's
Well,
it's a straightforward thing.
So does that mean next time I see you eating a chocolate bar, I say, oh, you're eating children's food?
Well, no, but I mean, the reason I say things like that is
Yeah.
because you have a general taste for that type of food. For
Well,
example, you like
yeah.
smash,
Yeah.
right?
No,
you
but-
like fish fingers.
No, but
you like orange
I
squash.
do.
You know, so that's the
But-
reason I say it.
Yeah, but you deride me, so you're a child, you eat children's
I
food.
don't say you're a child.
know,
You shouldn't
and
take it so personally. You do eat children's food.
Anyway, can I just point this out to you? The reason I'm telling you this, excuse me, is that Angel Delight is one of those foods you accuse me of eating as a children's food.
Well, it
okay?
is children's food.
It's not children's food.
Well, who else eats it?
I've been to plenty of dinner parties where they serve Angel Delight with
Rubbish.
strawberries on the top
What rubbish?
as a sweet.
When was the last dinner party you went to?
It doesn't matter. It's none of your business. But I'm telling you,
Well,
that's
why
what they
wouldn't you
serve.
tell me then?
Now then,
It's more rubbish.
It says, guess what?
Go on.
The mousse-like dessert. Which was
Moose-like
first-
dessert.
Yes.
You see that runaway moose, by the way, over in Breckenridge in Colorado?
No.
What have you been doing for the last 2 days?
No, what happened to it?
Well, there's some great footage of a runaway moose up a mountain,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's being filmed by a guy who's on a snowboard.
Well, shouldn't mooses be on mountains?
Well,
anyway?
they should, but the thing
So
is,
why is it run away?
Well, because
Is
it's
it
on
back
a,
into its
well,
own habitat.
Well, no, because in a ski resort, right? And
Yeah.
normally speaking, when you're in,
Oh, I
when you
see,
see
yeah.
a ski resort,
Yes.
the animals tend to stay away because there's an
Yeah.
awful lot of people there.
Yes.
But this moose, which looks fantastic, by the way, is just
Yeah.
sort of galloping through these various bits of the ski resort,
Right.
And people are filming it. So it's just quite an interesting piece of news footage.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's nothing to do with the moose I'm talking about, because
Oh,
I'm
right.
talking about a moose-like dessert, okay?
Okay, right.
Now, it's first sold in 1967. It's a family favourite, but it's slipped out of fashion in recent years. However, to get it back into fashion, it is now going to be served made up.
What?
For the first time.
What do you mean made up?
Well, you buy it now in a carton, whereas actually you don't buy the powder anymore.
Oh, I see.
And make it yourself with milk. You buy it
Right.
ready-made, okay?
Okay.
The maker Premier Foods relaunching Angel Delight in a single-serve pot as part of an attempt to modernise the brand.
So you're supposed to just eat it out of the pot with a spoon, then?
Yes,
Is
that's
that the
right.
point?
Yeah, the traditional
Well,
sachets.
it tastes horrible, though, doesn't it?
No, it tastes beautiful. I love it. The traditional sachets with their just add milk instruction will continue to be available in shops.
Yeah.
But fans of Angel Delight, which include, by the way,
Yeah.
so you go and tell him that he's eating children's food,
Yeah.
okay? TV talent spotter Simon Cowell,
Yeah, well, I would tell him he's eating children's food.
who ate bowls of the strawberry pudding between auditions for the hit show.
Yeah, well, I mean, Simon Cowell does not necessarily, as wealthy and successful
Yes,
as he is,
yes.
is not necessarily the poster boy for eating good food.
Well,
Is he?
he's Britain's biggest talent spotter, so that makes him
Well,
a
I
good
don't
guy.
care. It does, well, it might make him
Right.
a good guy, but it doesn't mean he doesn't eat children's food.
Now, it says fans of the Angel Delight, including Sam Cowell, who at bowls of strawberry, will have the choice of strawberry, butterscotch, chocolate, and banana.
What's your favourite?
Listed from the top to the bottom, that would be butterscotch, banana,
Yeah.
strawberry, chocolate.
So butterscotch is your favourite?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
What's
And
yours?
I don't like Angel Delight.
No, but I mean your flavours. If you had flavours
If
of...
I was going to have an ice cream,
Yes.
for example, I'm quite partial to New York butter pecan,
Okay.
actually.
What's that?
Well, it's like pecans are nuts, aren't they? Have you never had pecan pie?
Yeah, I like nuts.
You don't like nuts?
I like peanuts. But
You
I like,
eat peanuts?
Yeah, but I don't like other, like classy nuts or fashion nuts or anything.
Fashion nuts?
Yeah, I don't like them, yeah. That's what they are.
Well,
That's
like
what they are.
walnuts.
Eh?
Walnuts.
No. People eat these nuts that are basically shells and nothing else. What are they called?
What do you mean, talking about monkey nuts?
No, not even monkey nuts. They're pistachios.
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 You're not a
yeah.
bit pistachioed
Yeah,
yourself.
That's right, yeah, exactly. Anyway, it says...
Fashion nuts. I must get some of them.
You see...
Why don't you go up to your Porky Scratchings manufacturers and say, I'd like
Yeah.
to put out Porky's fashion nuts.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. It says the sachet version is also be given a fresh taste with bits of real strawberry and real chocolate in the strawberry and chocolate
What, you mean, up
flavours.
to now it's just been fake strawberry?
No, they haven't had any
Well,
strawberry
that's
in
an
it at all.
admission. Well, no strawberry in the strawberry-flavoured strawberry flavour.
No bits of strawberry. They've got strawberry
Well,
flavouring,
they won't
obviously.
be real strawberries, will they?
Of course they will
They'll
be.
pre-dehydrated and rehydrated.
Nine.
It's horrendous. And all they're trying to now do, right,
Yeah.
is obviously sort of bring it back, quotes, into fashion.
Yeah.
Because nobody's buying it.
No. You can relaunch things. We've relaunched our website just, okay?
Yeah, but we haven't got any
You re-
reconstituted strawberry in
You,
it.
you relaunch and refresh things to get people happy, okay?
All right.
Yes.
Well, why don't you get some when it's relaunched, right? And we can have a taste test.
Good idea.
And, I'll see whether I'm in the wrong. And I'll
Yes.
have to admit that Angel Delight is, in fact, delicious.
Yes.
I mean, it's the kind of thing, the reason I say that is the kind of thing that we used to eat on a Saturday, right? I
Yeah.
used to go and have music lessons with my sister.
Yeah.
And we would return to the house and we would have a special treat of a strawberry mousse.
Yes.
Which you used to buy as a single sort of pot type thing.
Right.
And we would have corned beef and tinned spaghetti hoops.
Ooh, lovely.
And that was our weekend treat.
Wow.
Because my mother wouldn't let us eat that kind of rubbish during the week normally.
Yeah.
You don't care, do you?
Not really.
You have no interest in anybody else apart from yourself. You are indeed
Not
the
true.
Donald Trump
Not
of
true.
Talk Sport.
Not true.
This is Talk Sport.
Extra time.
Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
This is Talk Sport. We are are the two mics. This is time for our competition, Heroes and Villains, which has been going swimmingly well for me and not so well for Porky. I think it's now 8-3 to me, isn't it?
No.
Isn't it?
No. It's more like 6-4.
Oh, that's the 1 minute moan, isn't it?
Yes.
That I'm leading so far in.
Yes.
Well, perhaps we can get a confirmation
in fact,
from Dave
Levine.
Levine.
4-4. This
no,
is a
it's
draw.
not. No way is it a draw.
It's
Absolute rubbish. Dave Levine will tell us it is something like
well, I don't trust him
6-4.
much anyway.
What do you mean you don't trust him?
Yeah,
you have no faith in the process. So presumably,
yeah.
Since you didn't have any faith in winners and losers, you kept losing.
Yes.
I would have to tend to suggest that you don't have any faith in any competition. You can't win.
Well, Anyway.
Well, would you like to go first?
I'll go first.
What would you like to go first with?
I'm going to go first with my first hero, a man who I backed, a man who I said deserves a break, a man who I said can turn things round and bring salvation to a troubled organisation. And that, of course, is Craig Shakespeare.
You never said anything about him.
I said everything about
Rubbish.
him. I was the first guy
When did you say that?
I was the first guy to beat the drum and say, give this guy a break and let him lead Leicester.
Incorrect.
Because in his first 2 games, he got 2 3-1 victories.
No.
I said he's made the players play for him. And as a result of that, as a result of me beating the drum, leading the campaign, Leicester City Football Club, having their wisdom now, decided to make him the manager till the end of the season.
Yes.
I want to
2
take
months.
full responsibility for that.
For 2 months.
I think he'll do a great job. I also said Leicester City will never go down, and they won't. So, excuse me, he is my first hero.
No, your only suggestion about Leicester City was that they should sack Claudio Ranieri.
Yes.
And that they should have sacked him. You never said anything about Craig Shakespeare.
Oh, I certainly did. And if I didn't, I certainly am now. And it's something that I've been beating the drum on.
But I think if you are to be loved and honoured and feted by the general public, you must speak the truth.
Well, I'm speaking the truth. I've been banging the drum for this guy ever since he took over as caretaker manager. You ask our millions of people out there who listen to us. They're called the audience.
Yes, they are called the audience. There's many of them, and they're growing by the day.
Yep.
And they wish to be treated with respect. All right, my first hero of the weekend is a Tottenham player, Mr. Son Heung-min, who, of course, sometimes has a name which is Heung-min Son, depending on which way round you take it. But this is a guy who was the hero of the game. Spurs 6-0 victory against Millwall. There was some rather unsavoury chants that were made about him.
Very unsavoury.
Because he happens to be from the Asian continent, right? And it now looks as though some of those Millwall fans will be dealt with and Millwall themselves will be dealt with. But the fact is that he basically didn't care. He played brilliantly in the game, scored 3 goals, and of course that was the best sort of 2 fingers up to these horrible fans that were trying to racially abuse him. And he also now, having scored a couple of his first goal was fantastic, by the way. If Harry Kane is going to be out for some considerable time, which could be certainly a few weeks, if not the whole rest of the season, depending on who you speak to, he could be the coming sort of star of the front line of Spurs. So I think he's a definite hero of the weekend. Thank you very much.
Right, okay. I will go with my first villain, okay?
Your first villain?
My first villain. And my first villain is that despicable individual, the creep of the First Order, James Hewitt. This is a man who, of course, romanced Diana, Princess of Wales.
He did.
Diana had a lot of...
did more than that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. We don't wish to know that. It's a family show.
Right.
Diana had associations with a lot of men towards the end of her life because her marriage to Prince Charles had broken down. She eventually got divorced. She was a free woman. She could have, associated with anybody she wants. The only one who's ever spoken out about the intimacy of their relationships is James Hewitt, and he now has been bellyaching over the last few days saying, I wish I'd never spoken about Diana, it ruined my life. Well, you tried to ruin her life and you tried to ruin the life of her sons. You are an absolute cad.
Do you not think that he was in some ways, shall we say, duped into speaking about her?
Well, he's an idiot then if he was duped into he did it for the money.
But do you not remember the way it was done?
Yeah, of course I do.
Anna Pasternak.
Yeah, and the sugary book and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the point is, James Hewitt is an idle loafer, in my opinion. He may not agree. Who wanted money easily. It was get rich quick, and from that he then bought himself a country house, and he talked about having my household and my staff. He actually said that.
Yeah.
When one of my mates went down.
Of a plank,
when one of my went down, he was a photographer. He said, "You must get off my land. You can't disturb my household." He was referring to his cleaner and his butler or whatever who he hired when he got a few bob from the Diana book and the Diana letters. And now he lives in a cottage with his mother because he's broke and run down.
I bet she's delighted about that.
I have no sympathy for him. He is definitely my loser.
He is definitely a cad's cad. There's no doubt about that.
Yes.
In my first loser, it goes back to a 16-year-old Fulham sensation. You know when Fulham beat Newcastle the other day in the top of the
3-1.
Championship? Yeah. There was an incident, right, where Fulham were 2-1 up against Newcastle, right? Yeah. Because this young man, Ryan Sessegnon, has scored 2 goals.
Yes.
All right. And he's only 16 years of age. He got brought down. And Fulham, in the guise of Tim Ream, would not let him take the penalty so that he could get a hat-trick, right?
Yes.
This guy took the penalty and then missed it.
Yes, he did, yeah.
In the 91st minute. I mean, how ridiculous is that?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, he took the opportunity away from this kid to get the match ball.
Yeah.
And I think he has to go down as a massive villain of the weekend.
Who?
Tim Ream.
Tim Ream?
Yeah.
Why? What did Tim Ream do?
Well, he took the penalty.
Right,
You not listen to anything. I just told you what he did.
Yeah, I know.
He took the ball off the boy, Sessegnon, and said, I'm going to take the penalty.
So that wouldn't have been his decision. That would have been the captain's decision,
well, he then missed it, though.
Yeah, well...
no, because any player on the field could have said, you deserve to take the penalty.
Yes, OK.
You know? I mean, if he had made the penalty work himself, that would be one thing. But he didn't. He missed it.
Bit spurious, that one.
You think it's spurious?
Yeah, right. Now then, my second... what did we go for first? Oh, hero. Yeah, my second hero is Judge Lindsay Kushner, OK?
Kushner.
No, it's Kushner. Kushner.
K-U-H what?
Kushner.
Kushner.
Yeah, Judge Lindsay Kushner.
Kushner, that's what I said.
Yes. She is the female judge who has been barracked on, sort of social networks and by the politically correct brigade because she merely said that if young ladies go out and get very drunk, they are putting themselves at more risk of being sexually assaulted than if they were sober.
Okay.
A perfectly sensible...
Isn't that from last week, though?
No, it's...
Where did she say it?
She said it last week. Today, she has been cleared by the Bar Council for having not...
Nice save.
Exactly, for having not in any way broken any rules of prejudice within the law or anything else, and perfectly entitled to speak her opinion. It's a absolutely common sense thing to say, and of course, all the politically correct brigade jump on and said, well, if a woman wants to go out and get drunk, she should be allowed to without fearing sexual assault. She didn't say that. She said, be careful if you get drunk, because if you are, you're more vulnerable, because men, as they are, will pick on drunken victims, because drunken victims, this is all she said...
Which shouldn't be the case, really, should it?
Offer less resistance. She didn't say, are more vulnerable to having sex or anything. She said, any victim who is drunk from a predator offers less resistance to the predator. That's all she said.
Okay.
And for that reason, she was barracked, and I'm delighted to say she's been cleared today. She is my second hero.
Okay. Well, my second hero is the man that you referred to earlier, the Portuguese, Mr. Pedro Caixinha, who is, of course, the new manager at Rangers, right? He was confirmed as the new Rangers boss on Saturday, right? And already he managed to bring them up by the bootstraps, so much so that by the time the game was finished against Celtic, it was a 1-1 draw.
Yes, it
was. The Old Firm derby, I mean, people have been asking the question ever since whether your old mate Brendan Rodgers has lost the plot. But there was a great tweet by an old friend of mine. It was a great tweet by an old friend of mine up in Glasgow, a guy called Kevin McKenna, a big Celtic fan, who said, Celtic are playing like they've started to believe their own publicity, that they are the greatest team in the world, and that, of course, they are honoured to be compared to the Lisbon Lions and all that.
That's right.
Because if we can't beat Rangers, how bad are they? But this guy, Pedro, seems to be doing the business, and even though he doesn't have much experience, he's doing it.
He's been in charge for like one game.
He's been in charge since Saturday.
Yeah, one game.
Yeah, but they drew with Celtic.
Yeah.
It's a massive result.
Yeah, huge,
massive.
Huge, yeah. Right, okay.
Why are you being so disgracefully sort of dismissive of my ideas?
No, I'm quite happy to acknowledge your
I think you're being very unsportsmanlike.
Your nominations, if they're any good, but frankly, they haven't been so far.
Well, you've so far got a judge from a week ago, and the cad
judge from
today. About 30 years ago.
No, the cad today who's talking today.
And you've also impugned the, shall we say, the sort of straightforwardness and the fairness of our own judge in this particular competition.
Well, that won't affect him because judges are incorruptible in any form.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Now then, my second villain is a guy called Malcolm Chisholm. You're going to say, who's he? Well, I'll tell you who he is.
He used to be an MSP in Scotland, didn't he?
Well, I don't know if it's the same guy, but he is from the RMT, the Railway Union.
Oh, I think it might be a different guy.
Yeah, and he is the guy who today praised the railwaymen from Merseyside who were roped into joining into the wave of strikes which have beset people in the south of England, which has now spread nationally.
Yes.
And Malcolm Chisholm is the guy who stepped forward from the railway unions and said, this is a brilliant thing. He was asked to condemn the spread of the industrial action. He did exactly the opposite. He praised them, and with that encouragement, you fear that it will happen again. Truly a villain.
Yes, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any end in sight for this thing.
Truly a villain.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, I'm going to put for my final villain, I'm going to actually put the Scotland rugby team, the Scotland Rugby Union team, that is.
Yes.
Because they went into the game with England at Twickenham as 4-1 sort of outsiders. Yeah. Which I was quite surprised about because I thought they'd had a reasonably good Six Nations, but they were woeful.
Yeah,
awful.
Woeful.
I mean, England were very good, but I mean, they just rolled over them.
Yeah.
They had their best player taken off with an injury. But
Yes.
it was embarrassing to watch. And I mean, people will sometimes say to me, and a couple of people did say to me actually during the game on Saturday afternoon after we'd done the warm up, Mike Grove's a bit quiet about Scotland.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm not going to hide from it. I do normally support Scotland at rugby, but they were dreadful, absolutely horrendous. And I think they're now about to get themselves a new coach.
Right.
And something really does have to be done because typically, whenever you expect Scotland to do something extraordinary, they don't. They only ever do it when you least expect it.
Yes.
So they're my second villains.
Okay, fine. Right, so that's it then. My two are...
you sure you haven't got one more to do?
No, I've done mine. I've done my two villains, James Hewitt and Malcolm Chisholm, the RMT boss. My heroes, Craig Shakespeare, and that wonderful lady
only
judge,
one of yours is actually
Lindsay Kushner.
So only one of your four heroes and villains is actually sports related.
What's that got to do with it?
Well, just noting it.
You can note whatever you want, pal. I've got a much broader range of interest and subjects that interest our millions of people out there audience than you have.
Have you?
Yes.
You've only got one interest. You.
What?
This is Talk Sport.
Now, wouldn't you agree that is the best we've heard tonight from Sister Sledge?
No.
Wouldn't you?
No, I think We Are Family is better.
No, I like this one better.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand why you would. You've been lost in a lot of places over your career.
Yeah, that's
now,
very funny.
You know what's interesting about people...
Who's entered the studio?
Mr. Dave Levine is here because he's about to impart the wisdom of Solomon.
Well, I feel confident.
Do you? Well, that's good.
I feel like the boxer at the end of the fight.
Around?
It's a tripod, actually.
Which boxer at the end of the fight? But the David Hay figure who's limping off the stage?
No, I feel like the boxer who knows that any minute now his right hand's going to be raised. No, and the new. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me just point something out to you before we do that. Stephen Solihull has sent us a text in.
Yes.
He's spent about 50 pence plus his normal sending charges to do so, right?
Yes.
But he obviously thinks we are... he's confusing us with Fisherman's Blues.
Oh, yeah, why?
Because Fisherman's Blues keep making it onto Clips of the Week because people send in these ridiculous names that people read out, like Annette Curtin.
Oh, I see.
Do you know that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And he's written one in that says, can you say a massive happy 50th birthday to my mum?
Yeah.
And here's her name, Eileen Dover.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, it's not
It's
really...
pathetic, really, isn't it?
I mean...
So, Steve, you know, thanks very much for trying, but I'm afraid you have now embarrassed yourself in front of thousands and possibly hundreds of thousands of people.
You certainly have, yeah.
And on the podcast, millions.
Indeed, I'm sorry
about that. Don't do it again, you plank.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Mr. Levine is here, so I thought that was quite interestingly different heroes and villains this week.
Yes. It was.
Yes.
It was. It was actually very close.
Was it?
It was very close. It's currently 6-3 to old MG.
It is 6-3, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have the winner.
So
would you like it this week, MG?
No, you give it to me, please.
Porky likes to see it first.
Thank you. Right, I have
there's only one envelope this week.
I have the envelope which says the winner on it, okay. So I'm just going to open it.
Okay. It usually says Mike, doesn't it?
I've changed it up.
I'm opening it. It says... No, this is wrong. It says... doesn't even say Mike.
What does it say? It
says MG.
MG? Well, that's
rubbish,
me.
This.
That's
You're
me.
rubbish as a judge, you are.
You just told me
He said that he was not impugned by corruption of any kind.
Well, he has been impugned.
Well,
Mine were
perhaps-
easily the better choice.
Would you like the reason?
Well, get
Yours
the
were
reason.
rubbish.
So
Well, you get the
actually,
reasoning,
they
and then
were
you'll
they were
find
all
out.
fairly strong. I liked all of MG's, but Porky, you chose a judge who made her comments last week.
No,
and
she was
James
cleared by the
Hewitt
Bar
from
Council
years
today.
ago.
No, he said today. He was published today as saying, I wish I'd never spoken to Dinah for the first time. Okay?
Yeah, I just think MG's Tim Ream was good. The Scottish rugby
Scottish
team
rugby,
were
shocking.
just humiliated.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised, Porky, you didn't go for the England rugby team after their dominant performance. That may have tipped it over the edge for you. Song Heung-min hat-trick and Pedro Caixinha with a good draw. I think they're all very good, but MG's just edged it, so that makes it 7-3.
Yeah.
It's starting to be a little bit of a walkover, this.
It's like Chelsea in the Premier League.
You
at
want
the
to
moment.
change the competition soon, won't you?
What?
You want to...
No.
And you're not paying any attention
Yes,
at all
I am.
now.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Cut to the quick. Thank you, Mr. Levine.
Yeah, thank you.
As ever, the
Oh,
wisdom
by
of
the way,
Solomon.
can I just point out that you got your facts completely wrong because Pedro, the new manager of Rangers, was not in charge of the team that drew
He
with
took
Celtic.
over on Saturday. He got the job
he was
on
not
Saturday.
in charge of the team on.
He got the job on Saturday.
I'm sorry, but before the judge goes, you've got to.
He got the job on Saturday.
You've got to revoke this. I've just checked it, and I've just been told officially.
He got the job on Saturday.
He wasn't in the dugout. He wasn't in the dugout.
He was not in the dugout. He
was not-
watched from the stands.
I'm sorry, that's an invalid nomination.
Well, I think
MG
you'll find...
didn't actually say that he was in the dugout.
I didn't
and
say he was in the
You
dugout.
said he was responsible in his first
I
game
said
for getting a draw
I
against
said
Celtic.
that
You're
having-
wrong.
No, I know. You see,
Wrong.
once again, the subtleties have escaped your
No.
rather infantile
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
What I said was that his hiring by Rangers has galvanised the team
No.
in such a way
Rubbish.
that they got a 1-1 draw with Celtic. They're massive rivals.
Rubbish.
And he was in the ground watching the game.
Rubbish.
What about
utter nonsense.
what about when Swansea got their new manager and he sat in the stands, and when they won the first game that he was there for, he went and claimed it. Remember, he came running down at the end and said, "Oh, my boys have won a game."
You got your facts all over
Paul
the place.
Clements, his name is.
Now, old Robbie here sends us a tweet saying, total rubbish from Porky regarding new standing Leicester manager. You never mentioned him
That's
once.
also true.
That is not true, and this boy's got cloth ears. He goes on to say, get your facts right, Porky. Merseyrail operators want driver-only trains and not thinking about safety or passengers. I don't quite understand that.
Well, I think he's trying to make the union's point, isn't he, for them?
Well, no, the point is they joined the dispute today, right? Well, the part of the dispute is about having driver-only trains, OK? It says Merseyrail operators want driver-only trains.
Merseyrail operators, yes. Well, those are the people that run the railway, aren't they?
Oh, I see what you mean, rather than the drivers.
Rather than the drivers,
I see,
yeah.
Merseyrail operators want driver not the I see, yeah. So he's saying that the drivers are thinking about safety, but the guys who run the services are not. Yeah,
I should point out to you as well that all the people who are moaning and groaning about the fact that this guy was not in charge of Rangers are all Celtic fans. You know, have all got a bit quiet.
Yeah.
You know, because they can't believe that their team, which has been very flatteringly compared to the Lisbon Lions, because they are so privileged to be in that position, can't even manage to get more than a 1-1 draw with a team that they've described as absolutely hopeless.
Yes, that's right.
You know?
Now, it says here, what's Porky's favourite biscuit with his orange squash? I bet he eats party rings. Well, I don't drink orange squash. I drink dandelion and burdock.
You do drink orange squash. You've told us that you do.
I do sometimes, yeah, but not with biscuits. Yeah, I drink them to take my tablets, actually. I drink orange squash to take my tablets, yeah.
Do you have to take a sip with each tablet of the 27?
No.
A lot of sips, isn't
No.
it?
No.
Well, how many tablets do you take at a time?
About 16, and then I just take
16 all in
mouthful
one
of-
go?
Yeah.
No
mouthful of
way.
Orange. Yes, I
You
do.
can't possibly do that.
I do.
How can you take 16 tablets all at once?
Because they're not very big. They're like Smarties, but they're smaller. Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not worried about it. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Now then, it says here as well, Leon says, Turkish Delight is absolute junk. It's only eaten by tramps with no
Delight.
class in pound shops. I've never seen a tramp in a pound shop by Angel Delight, so don't know which part of the country you're coming from. Now, it says here, let me see here. It says, Porky, yours were the best choice. I'm trying to find it because it came from a regular subscriber.
So you're now
Porky
making
wins
up...
it for me. A perfect example of a
Who's
villain.
that from?
From William, regular contributor. He says, Porky wins it for me. A perfect example of a villain.
Oh, yeah.
A rogue, a scoundrel, and a cad. So, I mean, that just about sums it up. Thank you very
but
much
unfortunately, it makes no difference what William thinks, as he's not the judge. So William can give it to you any time he likes. Mark says this, Heroes and Villains, MG all the way. Fulham have missed 8 out of the last 10 penalties by 6 different players.
Yes.
Let the boy have his day.
Yes.
Which I think is a good point.
Yes.
And how about this from Graham? Graham, who says, Porky, please don't back Chelsea for the FA Cup. Please.
Yeah, well, you know...
Please.
He's worried about the FA Cup when we get there.
He's worried about the Porky jinx.
Yes. The old Robbie's been a bit sort of, finger happy tonight. He says...
Finger happy?
Yeah. What's Porky going on about his disco dancing routines back in his John Travolta days? Well, you know what I'm going on about. Going on about the fact that... I was king of the old dance floor with the twinkling ball in the sky.
The twinkling ball in the sky?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that like the magic laser beam?
Yeah, a bit like that,
we talked about earlier on.
Yeah.
How about this one? Brunton says, Porky has to be the rudest man on radio. If it's not about Everton or the Beatles, it's all the sound of his own voice, he's not bothered.
That's completely untrue. Completely untrue.
Is it?
And, I dismiss things like that as utter rubbish, okay?
Yes, well, of course, you're not rude then, are you? That's the main thing. Now, coming up later on in the week, we're going to have the Porky quiz. We'll have to decide what that is tomorrow. We'll have Ask Porky tomorrow for anybody who is interested in trying to get a problem solved. Or a particular sort of dilemma sorted out.
Indeed.
You will be here to help them.
Indeed.
Porky Vision may be for the first time including a Porky review of himself on Sky.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Which I think is a great idea.
I like that.
I think you should definitely have a section on that.
Yeah.
And don't forget that I was there as well. And don't insult the guy Jonathan from Chester.
That is very forgettable.
Well, you say that, but of course I was the one that made it work.
Hey, by the way, he was upset, wasn't he? He didn't have a picture in the foyer of the King's School Chester like I have. Hey?
I'm not sure. I think he was a bit ashamed to have had to admit that he went to the same school as you.
I don't think so, no. I think he felt that, I'd kind of made it in life by having a picture at my alma mater, and he didn't. Mind you, he did point out he was there 20 years after me. So there's still time.
Indeed, there is. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics.
Look at the light! When sun shines...
I can honestly say I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
Never.
Well, you've had a sheltered
When did that come
upbringing.
out then? Was it 70s
Oh,
or something?
crikey. Mid-70s, something like that, I don't know.
It's a sort of Benny Hill style song, isn't it?
Yeah, it was that sort of thing. But, of course, you can imagine the scenes on Top of the Pops as My Guardian comes on.
Yeah.
And they bring on a rocking horse type dog, you know what I mean?
Rocking horse type dog.
Yeah, and he sits on it and starts rocking back and forth.
Right.
I've been a cowboy in
I was too busy, I
Rochdale.
think, at the time going to see Deep Purple concerts.
Maybe,
Led Zeppelin. I'm quite partial to New York butter pecan.
Okay.
Actually.
What's that?
Well, it's like pecans are nuts, aren't they? Have you never had pecan pie?
Yeah, I like nuts.
You don't like nuts?
I like peanuts. But
you eat peanuts?
Yeah, but I don't like other, like classy nuts or fashion nuts or anything.
Fashion nuts?
Yeah, I don't like them, yeah. That's what they are.
Well,
That's
like
what they
walnuts.
Eh?
Walnuts.
No. People eat these nuts that are basically shells and nothing else. What are they called?
Well, you've been talking about monkey nuts.
No, not even monkey nuts. They're pistachios.
Pistachios?
Pistachios.
You're a bit pistachioed yourself.
That's right, yeah, exactly.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.